What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 8 of Don't Cross the Streams. I'm Will, here with my buddy Jay. And we are joined today by Dave Rollins from Winterhouse Gaming, Shawn French, and Tomo Moriwaki. Did I say it right, Tomo?
Yeah, you did.
All right, from Hyperkinetic Studios. Thank you guys all so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having us.
Absolutely.
100%. This has been a really good way of connecting and giving us a chance to kind of get out of our head and have different people on the episode and give them a chance. Will and I, it was kind of just an idea, and from the first episode we did, we got a message from one of our guests that said it just really helped them mentally. Like we said, get out of your head. It's almost like treat it like sitting at a bar stool at the bar with your friends, just kind of shooting the shit about stuff, and we got people doing questions and all that. So, it's really just about having fun and interacting with each other and getting that interaction that we're not really getting at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need it. I've been like a stay-at-home dad now for 8 weeks on Tuesday, and I love my son. Don't get me wrong. But I am very much feeling Jack Torrance right now.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, doing this whole, video chatting and stuff, like we were just talking about it really is a great way to connect with everyone as a community and see things that normally people wouldn't see. We have a lot of people come by the stream and, 50, 60, 70 years old, 5 years old, it doesn't matter. They're seeing things that they normally would not see because they're actually exploring the internet now instead of just writing it off. And that's a fantastic thing to do. Yep.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think
love
about
it.
That. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like exploring, it's kind of like a culture shock, but in a very different way. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's obviously it's crazy what's going on. None of us expected or really prepared for it. And it's weird because, prior, me and Jay were having twice a week staff meetings. I was hosting trivia while working full time. And, we were, a few months away from, at the time, having this convention. So we were just straight out the whole time.
Right.
So it's been nice to have this outlet to be able to, talk with everybody or catch up or get to, meet new people that we've never got to meet before. And it's been great as well having, people that have been with this convention since year one. Or Shawn, talking with Shawn and him being like, hey, if you guys got room for one more, I've got my mentor Tomo, I'd love to have him in. I'm like, hell yeah, of course I'd love to have him on here with us. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, that is really cool that you guys are able to do that. And you guys dragged us along, and we couldn't be happier with the help that we've given you and the help you've given us, and it's been really nice. You guys are real good people.
Thank you. And I think the other thing with even just doing this, it's provided something. I've never not used OBS or done any of the streaming stuff prior. So poor Dave, for a week and a half, was putting up messages all day long, how do I do this? How do I do that? But it's been nice because it's given me some sort of creative outlet to, do something, and not go totally stir crazy on my end.
And now that you know how to do this stuff, you'll have people coming to you asking those exact same questions. So it all,
Exactly, yes.
It all works out.
I'm going to push everybody that asks me questions all day long. I'm going to push them right over to you, buddy.
Well, it's so Shawn, Ben Bishop, he's starting to do an intro to comics thing that he's doing. And he was like, hey, I'm looking into streaming stuff. And so I've given him a few oh, hey, this is what I'm using. And this is how I do it. If I don't know the answer, I can certainly try to find it. But yeah, it's nice to be able to, Dave was great with helping getting me started with this and be able to pass a little bit of knowledge to try to help somebody else out with it. So,
yeah. And we still have a long ways to go, but you're going to be a professional by the end of this year, I promise.
Hey, already though we've jumped. Just the fact that we can do images,
yeah, we figured that out.
Episode, and everything is slowly coming together, and it's getting easier to put together. And I'll just throw it out there. Tomo, Shawn, Dave, any of you guys, you want to come back? You just shoot us a message. You come back. You need time to just kind of unwind and vent about anything, join us.
Hey, that's good. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say that works for
I'd
us.
love to get you up here with Shawn sometime. For the convention to
Totally. Yes, it's a
awesome
great
to have
show.
you up here.
You'd love it.
It'd be great if I can get up there physically, but in lieu of that, to actually, get involved with this more frequently, that makes sense to us. I think over the last few years, we've done a lot of, I think we're kind of like streaming novices, but we've learned a lot about it over the last few years, and it's so easy. It's amazing. Right. We don't do it, and we don't. Obviously, the world doesn't do it enough, and maybe the current global crisis will kind of prompt more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And I was telling Will before we started this episode, I said, Will, I'm not going to be able to BS anything. Like, I've been out of the video game world like a long time, and I don't really know. I feel like an old man right now, like with my old Windows 98, and I'm just like jumping in, and like, yeah, what's up with the new video games here, guys?
Right. See, but that's like our era, though. So that's great.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
totally.
I was looking back at like Die by the Sword, right? That was
shoot.
98. I was looking at a video of that game just because I wanted to see, the gameplay of it and everything. And it was one of those things where I'm like, there was a time where I would have looked at these graphics and been blown away.
Yeah.
And it's like back at that time, putting an actual face on somebody, that was a big deal.
Well, and those characters are like 300 polygons, by the way.
And we talk about that a lot on the stream because I play a lot of indies. I play a massive amount of indies. I love them dearly. And we always talk about things that we play from, like, let's say the 90s. And I'm just like, I remember this. I'm not sure if it held up over the years, though. Because once you play things like, what's the most recent one? We got into SnowRunners, this very strange 4x4 game, and you're just delivering just stuff in mud. And it just looks fantastic. It runs fantastic. And then I go back and play Brave Fencer Musashi, which is one of my absolutely favorite games on the planet. But it's so hard to go back and play these things sometimes. But we definitely try our hardest. But you're right as far as things like, man, you didn't hold up very well over all this technology advancements that we've had. So I'm going to love you on the shelf.
Siphon Filter was that game for me personally. PlayStation. I played that game so much. I thought the graphics were out of this world. And then I tried to play that recently, and I couldn't play it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it is hard to do. I mean, but it's it's good that you keep it in your mind as being one of like a defining moment that you've had a good time on a game, and just keep that happy moment. You know what I mean? And that's what I do a lot.
And the further back you go, the more that becomes an issue. The first games that I loved were like on the Commodore 64 as a teenager. And I have learned over the years to never even look them up. Don't even look at the graphics. Nope. Don't look at screenshots. Don't look at anything.
Keep it as a memory.
In my head, the version in my head of the graphics on the Commodore 64, it was amazing. And every time I go back and look, it's like I have an aneurysm.
Well, you're almost you almost don't understand how your brain at all thought that was really good.
Yeah, I was Tandy 1000. I had a Tandy 1000 computer, and I played what was it? What was that game show with the little weird creatures that I can't even remember the name of it, but I remember booting this thing up and being 8-9 years old and thinking this is
Family Feud.
I can't remember exactly what it is. Whammy. It was Whammy.
Yeah.
That was what it is.
Oh yeah.
Those weird little creatures.
Big money. Yeah.
Yeah. So I played that religiously when I was 7, 8, 9 years old on a Tandy 1000, and I thought that was the best thing ever.
Man. Tandy had the nice color.
Tandy, it did have the nice color. And then booting into those discs that were this big, I thought I was a coder, which is funny. I was 8 years old, and I'm like, I can do this. Command prompt to get into this game. Check this out.
Nice.
It was so funny, but I'd never play it now. No, I'm good.
See, it's like mine skipped a generation though. Like Super Nintendo has always held up in my head that I can still play Super Nintendo games and have a good time with them because they are exactly what I remember. But there's something about when you started jumping into that PS, Xbox world that there's something about that. It was like, it was next generation, or maybe it's because that was like the start of growth to me.
Yeah.
As like a kid, is like, that's when I started to see how things could get better. And then every game that came out was better and better and better. But Super Nintendo games, they are what they are.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is.
Fantastic.
And,
you know what's held up really well over the years? Sonic. Sonic has held up fantastic over the years. And I mean, you can play that on every single device, including Toilet Yahtzee. So it's a fantastic game, and you know it has really held up. You know, so
one for me that didn't, and I was obsessed with GoldenEye on 64. And
who wasn't?
Right, and then I remember going to Cinema Club. I think it was at Halfway Con with Jason Marsden, and we were talking about it. So me, him, and his son Clark all sat down to play, and I couldn't play. Like, I was like, "What happened? I used to be so good at this game, and it's just like, oh, it was so bad."
That
Right.
Nintendo controller had that really loose, soft thumbstick.
Yes,
And
broke so many of those.
When you were practiced and you were good at GoldenEye, your control over your thumb was insane. You'll lose that in a weekend.
And we have, we're experiencing controller drift even now with switches and stuff. But that happened really, really bad with GoldenEye and those damn controllers. But the reality is I loved GoldenEye too. But it doesn't hold up either. That's the problem.
It's a huge milestone. Although there was a game that someone made where it's like GoldenEye, but the whole point of the game is that you're looking at other people's screens to see where they are to cheat to play the shooter game.
That sounds both fun and terrifying.
It's a great experiment and it's pretty fun. But you guys are talking about when games take a shift. There's the big shift, I think, is resolution related. Because if you think about Commodore 64 games, they were like 320 by 200. And then PlayStation 1 and our regular TVs is 640. And so it's a huge, like, you can't put stuff on a screen. And you can go back further, and it's even less than that, right? Like those green square Apple things are like 40 by 40 or something, or 80 by 80 characters. It's you can't put anything on that. You can't draw a picture.
You really can't. And I've got an APF system. I wish I could grab it and show you, but I have an APF system. I think it's from 1971. And this thing has 4 games built in. So my nephew, being 12, 13 years old, I'm like, hey, you should play this because this is where gaming kind of started, and, this Pong game and all this stuff. And this has 4 in 1. And he goes, oh, that sounds really cool. Let's play it. I hook it all up. I turn on the first game, and of course the knob is this big. All right, it's just the controller is just this big old knob that nobody knows how to use. So he's holding this, and he says, "What is this?" I said, "That's your controller. Just hold on to it." So he holds on to it, and he goes, "All right, game number 1, Pong with all the walls." Okay, that's game number 1. So we're sitting here playing it. Oh, this is kind of boring. After 10 seconds, he's bored. All right, let's play game number 2. And in my head, I'm laughing. You guys know what's going to happen. Game number 2, all it does is take away 1 wall. This kid is like, no, game number 3 takes away the other wall. Game number 4, there's no walls. It's just a free-for-all, and it's extra hard mode. And he was like, yeah, I'm not playing this. He's also a Fortnite kid, so
Sure.
The reaction on his face was priceless. So.
That to me is like trying to tell somebody right now why The Never-Ending Story is a great movie. Like,
it was a great movie.
It was a great movie, but I was doing a tattoo on this girl that was like, I don't know, 19, maybe 20, like today. And we got talking about Never-Ending Story. And she's like, oh, I've never heard of that. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you, because you're either going to watch it and love it, or you're going to watch it and just absolutely think it's the stupidest thing you've ever seen. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, try it.
Yeah. So those of you that know what an APF system is, here's a little show and tell. Here's the controller. All this is a big old knob. And then the system itself is beautiful because it's got that really old style wood top on it.
The wood.
Check this out.
Oh yeah.
Dude.
Oh.
Isn't this
Amazing.
absolutely beautiful? It's kind of hard because it's like, here, hold on.
Turn off your
Let me,
blur for
turn
a
off the
minute.
Let me
blur,
turn
yeah.
off the blur.
Yeah,
Unblur. Look how
there
beautiful this is.
Oh,
Oops,
that's awesome.
Sorry. Yeah. So this
Is
big
a
old
stupid
knob right
question.
here.
Is that real wood? Is that real wood?
No.
Hold on. No, I don't think so. But this is it is beautiful, and he was blown away. So
That's awesome. I love it.
One,
I'm
it's
gonna
like
get
you
us
could probably
caught up on-
create something that you could plug your watch into a TV and get the same functionality now. Well, way more.
Yeah.
Way
Right,
more.
yeah.
Way more.
Way more.
I mean, we all have computers in our pockets and hands. You know, it's
Right.
Oh, yeah.
There was a game on there that was Larry Bird on Commodore. Larry Bird versus Dr. J, 1-on-1. And my memories of this game, I played this game and played the crap out of this game. Look it up; it'll hurt your eyes. It's stick figures. It's fucking stick figures. Like I went back and looked at it later. I'm like, no,
it's all it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
was that stick
That's all it
figures? That was an Atari game. It looked exactly like an Atari. It
Yeah.
wounded me so much.
Well, I mean, I don't know if any of you have dabbled into the Final Fantasy VII remake, which is absolutely phenomenal looking game now. But I loved it way back in the day. I mean, I have it for every single system that it was ever made on, and released on. And Final Fantasy VII remake itself, I love the direction that technology is going in that sense. I absolutely love it as a gamer. One thing that, and I was actually doing a little bit of a Hyperkinetic Studios looking things up. Spider-Man Homecoming VR. That's something that you guys were working on a little bit. I just got into the Oculus Rift VR this year. I'm actually sad, for myself that I never got into it sooner. These experiences like that are absolutely phenomenal. So with you guys and the technology that you're using and have to advance with, I mean, what kind of effect has that had on you guys? I mean, that's a lot of extra learning that you might not have had years and years ago with, like, let's say Sonic.
Well, what's interesting is so many of us have been in the industry for a long time, so we've kind of gotten used to things changing. That's like the one constant is what you were doing yesterday isn't going to work tomorrow, sort of.
Right.
So we get really used to kind of picking up new knowledge bases and getting into them. In fact, that's kind of the name of the game for all our client work. It's just an endless string of, hey, we haven't done that. Let's figure out what this is about, and let's dig in and try to make something work.
Right.
It's been a pretty, and that in and of itself, that part is really, really fun. The uncertainty, the endless uncertainty is maybe a little bit less fun.
Well, that's true because we talk about it all the time on the podcast that we do in streaming. How difficult, and you guys, you're going to know exactly where I'm going with this. How incredibly difficult gamers are. Gamers are very harsh. We're massive critics of everything we play and do. How did you ever get beyond that kind of thing, both of you? I mean, the critics.
I think one of the biggest drawbacks in games shields you from one of the other biggest drawbacks in games. And that's that nobody who plays games knows the names of the people who made them.
Right.
If you ask me, I tell you, what's your favorite movie? You can rattle off 5-6 people who worked on it.
Right.
You can do that. You can do that with any form of entertainment that you love. And games, you just can't. Nobody knows who makes the games they love. So even though there's a lot of kind of toxic behavior in the base sometimes, they don't know to direct it at us.
Right.
They're just kind of throwing it out there. It's not. We're not catching it personally as much.
Right. That's really good. I was always wondering that. Ever since I really started getting into like developers and different indie games and stuff like that. How people. Of course, you probably don't go looking for it either. So someone like me, content creator, I'm seeing it. I'm looking at this stuff. I'm reading it. I'm interacting. But you guys probably don't go on and say, "Hey, I wonder what they're saying about this stuff negatively." You're probably just trying to absorb the positivity of it.
Well, it's interesting, actually. We in the last few years we've been streaming development along with Epic Tavern, and once we started Epic Tavern as an indie studio, it was different from our experiences in the past, kind of making big console games. In the past, we have no exposure to the audience. We have no idea how it's even really being marketed. We just, in fact, and as punk kids working on the video game, we have like all this contempt for the marketing department, right? We don't even know who they are. But now in today's world, it's completely different. We're like constantly puzzling over and having our feelings get hurt over the littlest things people say, and just trying to be real careful not to let any of that response get out there, right?
Right.
Our philosophy is love the haters to death.
That's a good philosophy to have.
Yeah, but the other thing is, there's nothing, you can't act on a compliment. You can't make your product better on a compliment.
That's true.
Right.
Even a nasty comment, there's probably going to be something real in it. The person's experience that they're relaying to you is accurate, even if you kind of read the situation differently. There's something in there that you're going to be able to figure out what made them not enjoy it and try to avoid that.
And by that logic, then it means you actually give more attention to the haters because you have more to benefit from kind of farming them for their perspective.
It's true.
Yeah. Because
well, isn't it the age-old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the grease? I mean, that stands true forever with everything. It drives me nuts, but it's so true. The whoever speaks up, like whether or not it was negative or positive, you're gonna make a decision based off of that comment or whatever. It's gonna affect what you do. I mean, I brought it up a little while ago where in another episode, like with us running this convention, with having to postpone with the coronavirus and everything, that was a huge blow. That sucked. That was totally out of our control. Having something all put together, working almost a year, groups and everything, meetings, just to be like I said in the last episode, it ended up feeling like a big fire drill. And, you put all that effort in, but when we announced the reschedule, and I will remember it, and I can't get it out of my head, this one person made a comment saying, why even reschedule? Why not just cancel? Because you're going to reschedule, or like you're going to cancel it again. And now, every time I hear on the news, they're like, this might keep continuing. This might go until the fall. I'm like, oh my God, if we have to reschedule again, all I can think about is that one person that said that.
that one person that said, told you so.
Yeah, exactly. Out of all the people, all the support,
we're talking to you if you're watching.
Yeah, right. Whoever you are.
So it's always that's always been like the thing, that question I asked you guys, that's always been a thing, even for content creators. There's really kind of, that sort of negativity kind of everywhere. I actually did let it get to me one time. I do a podcast. I talk all day long. Ask any of my friends. They constantly tell me to shut up, including my girlfriend. I talk a lot. Now, this person came on stream. I'll tell you, I'm very long-winded, but I'll tell you, this person came on stream and told us, do you ever shut up? I'm like, so what did I do? I let it get the best of me. I just shut right up. I did not have a good time. Nobody had a good time. And the next day, it was terrible. The next day, I was like, I should have told him to fly out of here. This was my time. This was my time. Why did I let this person get to me? Yep. And I always think about the Hello Studios kind of thing, with the No Man's Sky thing that had happened, and how these people have absorbed all this. And I've always been in awe that people can push and push and push, and developers do it constantly against these gamers that are just absolutely crazy. And I've always admired that, because guess what? There's another game coming out by the developer, and that's fantastic. That's pushing through, and I admire that, of all the developers. So.
Well, one of the other co-founder of Hyperkinetic Studios, a guy named Rich Bisso, there's something he likes to say pretty regularly, in that the people who are frustrated and upset about your product are fundamentally more engaged and more passionately connected to what you've done than people who aren't saying anything at all, and that they're actually a huge opportunity, and that you're really seeking them out and converting them to be to have a good attitude about what you've done.
Right.
Because there's a great deal, like that's actually, it becomes kind of like, that's the direction to follow. It's like go upstream and follow that hate straight to the source and get in there and start figuring out how to get that dialogue open. To be fair, you can't ever not respond to people hating on you. It always feels bad, right? The trick is you just got to build a fort around those feelings and just don't let them out, because the best countermeasure for people attacking you is for you not to lose your cool, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's cool. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Well, and you know this like the back of your hand. I can tell already. Your presentation and your persona is like well tuned.
Well, thank you very much. We started Winterhouse Gaming probably 4 years ago, and I've always wanted to do a radio show, and I love video games, so it kind of just made sense for me. And we have a very cool crew of 4 people that are very passionate about this. So we talk about all this cool gaming stuff all the time. One thing I am very curious about. Oh, look, there's a little baby.
Quick.
Hey, Miles.
Yeah.
My son, he wanted to say goodnight before he went to bed. I'm very sorry.
Good night.
Good
What's
night.
your son's name?
Okay. Can you say goodnight?
Miles. Miles is his son's name.
Miles. Good night, Miles.
All right.
Good night,
Miles.
Bye, guys.
He comes to actually one of my fondest memories of last year for the Bangor Comic and Toy Con was he was wearing a Yoda outfit. And it was the cutest little thing. So he's got a couple pictures of him next to R2D2, and it was so cute.
On my phone.
Yeah, it was adorable. Yeah, right there. Look at his face. I love that. There was a massive group of people just
awesome.
hanging around, just watching this kid because he was so happy.
He did not mean to be rude at all. He just was going to bed and he was like, he wanted to say hi.
Yeah, it was like
Not a
the
problem.
part. Like Miles came last year, and people just moved out of the way and just let him kind of roam and enjoy. Enjoy the con.
Yeah, right.
Yep. He did whatever he wanted to do.
My perspective is that there should be more kids in more of the stuff we do.
Mm-hmm.
Because it instantly adds, it's like, who doesn't smile when the kid shows up on screen? It's like,
Right.
you have a cat show up or a dog show up. But
Right.
not to equate or to create an analogy between kids and our pets. There's a difference.
Well, honestly, I mean, let's be real. In my life, we were dog parents way before kid parents. Like, we had dogs for years. We were always like, yeah, kids. Who wants a kid? Like,
Who wants
man, I
kids?
could. My dogs, we could take them anywhere, put them in a crate if we're gonna go outside, do something. No big deal. And then you have a kid, and you're just like, oh, that's why people.
You have to actually feed it when it's hungry.
Yeah, right.
You can't just change the cat box and leave water and food on the floor.
No, unfortunately, I tried that. It did not work.
Yeah.
So I have a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. And I definitely very happy to be a parent. And something interesting, it made me a much better game designer, or a much better creative, actually. And I can talk about that afterward. But I got to say, they sure talk back a lot.
I imagine.
If you remember this phase, I'm sorry to off track us on this, but I'm right now with my 2.5-year-old in the phase where he'll go a show that he likes, right? He'll say he's watching the Incredible Hulk Iron Man animation on Disney Plus right now, and he'll be like, Iron Man Hulk, and you're like, all right, and he'll be like, no, Iron Man Hulk. You're like, no, Iron Man Hulk. Yes, Iron Man Hulk. And you're like, okay, I'll put it on. No! I'm just like, oh my God, dude. I'm going to lose my, everything now. It's like, put on PJs? No. And then I go to put them away. Oh, PJs!
So it's funny being, I don't have kids or anything. I just have this massive cat that weighs 22 pounds.
Pretty much the same.
But it's pretty much the same. So I witnessed a few stages here and there of my nephew, and one of my least favorite was the "What's That" stage.
Yeah.
Is that a normal? I'm not a dad. Is that a normal kid thing that just happens to all of them?
Yeah.
What's that? Well, you tell them.
That? Oh, yeah.
Well, what's that? Holy, that drove me crazy.
Dude,
And the why.
I gotta say,
the why and the what's that.
The what's that phase is much better than the no phase.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
So-
I can see that.
Here's the trick with what made me a better designer because of the kids is that because they're your kids, or just anything that you end up having a very open attitude about, I realize as a creative, I still had too much of my own ego stuck in it, where I'm like, you audience, you guys are wrong and I'm right. And when it comes to my kids, I was able to kind of disabuse myself of that attitude. I'm like, actually, I'm only trying to make you happy, so why not do that better?
Yeah.
And it very much helped me mature my creative outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. No, it humbles you for sure. Yeah, 100%. I could see that. And I feel that same way. Like, it almost feels the same way with us running this convention. Like, I constantly am reminding Will and I, like, there's times when we get all worked up about stuff or whatever, and I have to bring us down, like, Will, you got to remember, and we need to remember that we do this to entertain people. Like, we don't even need to do this convention. So, like, when people send us, not nasty, like, we don't get a whole lot of nasty comments, but when people are, like, upset or immediately want to just throw it in the trash because of one thing you did, you know, it's just like, my God, why are you getting so upset right now? Like, we're just trying to provide you with something fun to go to, you know, and if you don't like it, you don't like it, but this is just what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
But then you run into trying to please everybody, and you can't please everybody. And I feel like with you guys doing game design, you put so much effort, there's so many people involved, and then you got one guy that buys your game, and he sits down in his underwear, and he plays it for 10 minutes, and he goes, you know? And then they jump on, and they're just like, yeah, fuck that game.
You know,
but if they feel that way in the first 10 minutes, that's valuable info.
Right.
It really is.
What they think they are.
Yeah, not
That's
you
useful
specifically.
when I
Despite their
play,
intentions, they're helping us.
when I play games new like that, and don't get me wrong, you know, I sit in my underwear all the time. My pants right now. But the reality is, that's what being a content creator, you don't have to worry about pants. You know what I mean? But the reality of it is, I always give myself, because I play so many indie games, I always give myself at least an hour of really solid play. If there's even something remotely that I like, whether it's mechanics, story, or anything like that, I'll give myself another hour. And usually I push through it pretty good. The people that play it for 10 minutes and then I got a friend of mine. I hope he's not listening to this. That turnaround after 10 minutes and to get a refund. This is all I got to say to you. Give it an hour, man. Give it a little bit more time. A lot of hard work went into this. Give it a little bit more time.
But if it's a Steam game, don't give it more than 2 hours.
That's
because then you can't return it.
Yeah, so it's got to be under 2 hours and under 7 days, or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. I actually, in a lot of ways, I really appreciate consumers that can take a look at a game, give it an honest shake, and then let it go. Like, this ain't my thing, I'm out. It is different though. Like, I think there are a lot of users out there that are players out there who they'll play an experience and they'll get frustrated by it, and now they're on your case. It's like somehow, you know, it's like you brought me to this frustration, so I need to like search the earth for you, get you by the collar, and yell at you for making me frustrated.
Like
now, I don't blame people for that. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is not to blame them for it, knowing that somehow they expected so much from you, and they got and to be fair, it might have been completely different than what you were ever trying to do. It exposes so much about the way we work as human beings, I guess. Yeah,
it's always mechanics that get me. I never curse the developers, but you know, I've got some friends that'd be like, "Why didn't you use the potion faster, Mom? I died again." You know, this is exactly what happens. You know, constantly. I've got a few friends that do that, and it's funny. It's not my fault. No, it was the developer. He messed it up.
The sun was in my eyes.
Get me another hot pocket. You know,
the meatloaf.
But the reality is, people should not attack developers for that stuff. It seems ridiculous, but it's good feedback, like Shawn said. It's good feedback, right?
You know, I thought that was very interesting that you said that, Tomo. The people that I never thought about it like that, and that's a good way to look at it. You know, the people that are upset about it, then yeah, they are the more emotionally involved in your game or your product and all that. And that, yeah, I never thought about it like that. I like that.
Yep.
This is the right time for Shawn to tell his favorite quote.
Let's hear it.
Gaiman.
Oh, the Neil Gaiman one. Let me actually get so I don't butcher it. Yes, here it is. When people tell you something's wrong or doesn't work for them, they are almost always right. When they tell you exactly what they think is wrong and how to fix it, they are almost always wrong.
Wow.
And I go back to that all the time. I think it's a really useful way of kind of framing feedback.
It's like a different form of half full, half empty kind of optimism, for sure.
Well, and it's both of them, right? It's both of them at the same time.
Right.
Well, And there's this other thing, right? My feelings are exactly what they are. So if I'm losing my shit and I am just upset, and you can sense that, the one thing you know for sure is that I'm upset. And that's maybe all you really know.
You know,
Tomo, with I know that you've been in this gaming field for now. What 98 was your first game, but were you still doing it way before that?
Not way before that. I did start on Die by the Sword, I think in the summer, late summer of 97.
Well, you to me remind me of like the equivalence of a person that was born in like 1912 and they saw this amount of change in their lifestyle in technology. Can you talk to us a little bit about like you started in like what we said with the Die by Sword kind of graphics PC, and now what we are doing and what you are working on today is so night and day.
Yeah, things have changed quite a bit, and I think there basically been like 4 like massive age shifts, I think, since then. But I like telling this story because I played those Pong games when I was like 4. And so as a 47-year-old, I have been alive pretty much exactly the same length of time as the video game industry has been alive.
Yep.
And so like and on top of that, I played the Pong machine, I played Atari 2600, I played Intellivision, I played ColecoVision, played the Lynx and the I never played a Jaguar, by the way. But like things like Neo Geo, like I was there and played games at every step of the history of the game. So I always feel like the entire industry is like a sibling to me. But in terms of being accustomed, and then part of my joke is then that means that I'm eligible to be like a kung fu master of the video game industry when I get old. We'll see if that pans out. But
you're going to be a relic.
When I was started off. And the amount of changes that have occurred since then, like at first, it really, really shook me at first that the way I wanted the game industry to go wasn't the way it was turning out. But then after change and upon change, and especially, oh my God, like Facebook and the App Store and how that disrupted and modified, like totally changed the way games work for people and added like 1 billion extra users, you start getting used to the change. It becomes the normal, and it really helps season your perspective, because especially for the first time you're disappointed with the way the world, goes forward, like that's a tough event, and the immature version of yourself wants to shake their fist and cause some damage. But then after the 4th time, you're kind of like, oh, this is just the way it goes. So then what's the next one going to be? And relic might be a good word. I mean, I do. I definitely talk about those kids and how red in the face they are and them yelling and being upset. And I'm just talking about my peers that have recently gotten to the game industry.
Now, I can't help but think about
Shots
things.
fired.
I just read Ready Player One, and I can't help but wonder, do you hide stuff in your games? Like, are there things that nobody even knows about that you've hid?
Easter eggs.
It depends on the game, but I think the more committed a team is, and let's say as you increase their commitment and reduce their pressure, you're going to start seeing more and more things that they've just thrown in because it tickles their fancy. And so Easter eggs, to some extent, back in the early 2000s and late 90s and the console games we were working on, we would put some Easter eggs in on purpose. Like it'd be like like an exec meeting, and we'd talk about what Easter eggs would be authorized. Those are never the cool Easter eggs, by the way. But then and then some of these other Easter eggs, which are the cool Easter eggs, sometimes are huge problems because someone will put something in, not tell anybody, and they have a sense of humor that everyone thinks is actually fun.
But one of my favorites is the original NBA Jam. One of the lead programmers was a huge Pistons fan and hated the Bulls, so wired the code so that the Bulls, if they're playing against the Pistons, would miss the game-winning shots.
Oh my God, that's amazing!
That's awesome.
And
all I can picture is like
politics.
Is somewhere there's like these 2 best friends, and like one of them's a Pistons fan and one's a Bulls fan, and they play NBA Jam all the time, and like one of them just gets this complex because he always misses the game-winning shot and just like thinks he chokes, and they're like both their personalities based on it.
Oh my god, that's so funny and so frustrating. Like that's like almost unfairly justifiable, at the same time.
Well, I think it is worth noting.
NBA Jam, man.
Entertainment is not designed to be fair.
Right. That's for sure.
It's true.
I want to get caught up on some comments here, and then Sean.
Yeah, man, we've had a lot of comments. By the way, anybody on this, Tomo or Shawn, if you pull up our Facebook app, you can see the stream that we have, and you can see the comments because some of these are directed at you guys.
Oh, awesome. Okay, yeah, let me get that up.
Yeah, and then I'll hit on all the questions here in a second, and then once we get through what we have, Sean, I want to talk with you more about Epic Tavern and the new Murder on the Medway. After that, if you don't.
Oh yeah.
So Colleen said,
I'm going to step to the bathroom real quick. I'm sorry. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go for it. Colleen says, good evening, working in Bangor. Greg said, hello. First thing, if you haven't already, pick up Doom Eternal. Holy moly, what an incredible first-person shooter. Hey, Justin. Willie Fresco was here, Dave. Jason said he wants to climb through your window, Dave.
He lives upstairs on the 3rd floor. I call him an attic monkey.
Greg said Secret of Mana was his favorite game in the 90s.
Oh, so good. So good.
Playing Doom game in full HDR 4K is extremely surreal. SNES for life, said John, owner of Seasons Restaurant we work with. Sonic had such a quiet winner without too overhyped. Trying to find some.
There was a question, Brian.
Brian
for Shawn. For Shawn.
Shawn, yeah. So, Greg, The Last of Us 2. Let's fight about this game. We'll get to that. Where is it? There was a question from Brian for Shawn.
You want me to say it? I got it ready.
There we go. Shawn, could there be a toddler monster encounter in Epic Tavern?
There definitely could. We have the encounter with the vampire children. And that's always kind of fun fodder to play with, where you've got the kind of sweet and innocent and creepy and murderous kind of blended together. Right. That's a fun mix. Monster kids are always fun.
It's like we were saying with the kids before. There's always room to bring the kids into play because they create like just a different vibe when you bring that into the mix, especially kids in horror. I mean, we know for sure how effective it can be.
Yeah, I don't do good with horror things. I was playing VR. What game was it? I can't even remember what game it was. And I figured, you know what? Everybody's doing it, having a good time. So I went over there and put this thing on and playing this game. And all of a sudden, all it was this loud noise and a lamp. Because you're in a dark room, okay? And there's just this lamp in the corner of the room. And it just flickered, and I dropped right to the ground. My legs, it like disappeared, and I collapsed onto the ground in front of everybody. There's a video, actually.
Oh, my.
Floating around on Winterhouse Gaming, if you guys are curious about it. It was
like Joe Rogan. I'm just like, hey, pull up that video.
yeah. It's like watch this nerd collapse. I do not do scary things, so that was a big step for me. I'm actually trying to get through Half-Life Alyx, but there's a few parts in it that kind of freaking me out. So, very nice game. That's phenomenal. So,
well, me and Shawn are big horror fans.
That's awesome. I was looking at some of the art on was it Escape from Jesus Island?
Yeah, I would have never guessed awesome. Shawn was a horror guy.
Yeah,
dude,
this
artwork
it's so good.
Is phenomenal.
Yeah,
it really is.
Did you I still need to get a print if you have a copy that I can buy off you, Shawn, but that Stephen King mashup print that you did at year 1, year 2?
Yeah,
that's one right there.
Hey.
Yeah, they're right there.
I need a copy of that.
Did that one.
Mortimer did that one.
If so, I'll check and let you know. I'll send you one if we have any left.
Autographed, please.
These are literally what nightmares are made of.
This is so awesome. How many? Do you remember how many Stephen King movies are around?
I think he had like 27 references to King films.
Yeah.
there, and then he made like a little diagram that showed what they all are.
Yeah, so mine's all framed up, but yeah, on the back of it, there's a list of all of them that are in it.
The key.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
I cannot wait for this year's BCTC. You get me excited all over again.
Tell me about it. You gotta get Tomo up here to hang out for the weekend.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm game. And
We're gonna have
all the craft breweries and
absolutely
talk about video games and comic books. You know,
we're
when
gonna
I was
have massive 75-inch TVs for video gaming, and it's gonna be phenomenal.
Yeah,
awesome.
So Dave and the Winterhouse team kind of went all out for us last year, and between basically every current video game system, VR, some classic stuff, and to kind of touch on the brewery thing, Jay used to work for a brewery here called Gagan's, and we actually have a BCTC beer that they brew specially for us for the convention.
Yep.
And then this year as well, Ben Bishop, who Shawn and Dave up here now, does stuff for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with Kevin Eastman, Jarring Blood, a ton of other things. He's got his own split decision comic graphic novel, but he does all the beer cans for a brewery called Mason's Brewing here, and they're doing a special Drawing Blood themed beer for us, or two, I think. So we'll have two different beers, and they'll actually have them canned this year. Oh, that's something different. Hold on. There we go. This is one of them. This is what one of the labels will look like.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's
yeah,
cool.
We're very excited about the two different local breweries that are making beers specifically for the convention, and then I think Maine just became like the capital of like craft brewing in the U.S. or something like that. Like Dave said, it just exploded in the last couple of years.
That's
not
because
a whole lot
we
as
have
far as bourbon. I don't know anybody that makes bourbon around here, though.
Well, Tennessee and Kentucky are going to be hard to compete with.
That's because we have that's because we have health officials with really low standards. I'm just kidding. They high standards. Don't hurt me.
Just kidding.
Nice.
I'm just
Prank
kidding.
caller.
Yeah.
A few more comments here. Jim says, hello, folks. Jimmy Graham, who was on here last episode, kind of a horror, I guess, writer here from right here in Maine.
Yeah, he's got his own publishing. He just started Four Horsemen Publishing.
Yeah. Brian asked, all you Maine men, what are you playing now? Dave already commented, it's SnowRunner.
It's SnowRunner. It's so weird.
GTA 5 for me right now.
Nice.
Just
I'm doing a lot of Overwatch currently. I kind of got back into Overwatch again. I think talking
GTA 5 is making massive moves right now because it's free on Epic Store for PC until the 21st, and that is a power move by Epic.
And I just bought it last night at Walmart. Cool.
Did you really?
Yeah, dude, literally.
You sucker.
It's on Game Pass too.
It's on Game Pass.
Yes,
Yep.
Jay, you should just get Game Pass. It's like $15 a month.
I do have Game Pass. No. This is what happened is I have Game Pass and it was on there and I was playing it.
Oh, it came off.
I have
I just bought it last night.
I have a question, and I think I know the answer to this. Shawn, Tomo, PlayStation or Xbox?
Oh, damn it.
You want to answer, Shawn? I mean, for myself,
I
do.
Xbox, but it's
I'm
not
just
really
curious.
a preference. It's just kind of what I kind of stumbled into.
So at the beginning, it was, in the PlayStation 2 era, it was PlayStation. In the Xbox 360 era, it was the Xbox. In the PlayStation 3 era, it's definitely PlayStation. PlayStation 4 and Xbone, it's still PlayStation ultimately, but I felt like things had shifted a little in favor of Xbox, and we'll see what happens in the next round.
I'm the same exact way. A lot of people are coming to me and asking me about next-gen consoles, and I tell them this one particular thing that Will mentioned. Game Pass is worth its weight in gold. It really is. They have done an amazing job with that, and you can play on PC, you can play on the Xbox. It really doesn't matter. I have Xboxes here and stuff like that, but I do play most of those games on PC, and I've been a PlayStation guy since day one. I own, Xbox and stuff, and I do play them on occasion. But this new gen, I don't know, man. Xbox is really, really digging into it, and the shape of the Xbox and how unique it is. I love that it looks like a refrigerator, and I don't care.
Okay, so catch me up then, because I've been out of the loop. So both systems are coming out with the next gen, like at the same time?
This year.
This year.
It's how it always goes.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Because one
puts it on
company
the
couldn't
next,
let the other
has to
company
be
do it
something to
without them.
compete.
The only company that doesn't care is Nintendo.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
only
fair.
been hearing PS5. I haven't even heard anything about a new Xbox, but that's because
Really?
I haven't really been digging.
Because
Yeah, you mean you haven't
listen
heard the
to
Xbox,
the Xbox
SX jokes?
yeah, exactly. The
No, I
Xbox
haven't.
the Xbox has already been revealed. They've already shown what it's going to look like. The PS5 has not even been shown what it's looked like. There's a lot of concept out there, but none of it's real yet. Wait until you see it on PlayStation's page. But I love the unique style of systems, and I'm sick of the flat basic styles. I want something that looks very unique. And the Xbox Series X, that's annoying to even say. I don't like the name. I love the look of it. I mean, it looks just like this really funky square, this rectangle, and it's got a big huge fan on the top. It glows green or whatever, and I love that. I'm really hoping that when PlayStation's revealed, it looks like a Game Sphere. It's just this big, massive globe for no apparent reason, and I want that. I want something that looks funky.
No buttons, no inputs.
It doesn't matter.
It's just a rock.
You just wave at it, and it just opens up, and you just insert 80 games, and it closes, and you just pick through the games like it's a CD changer.
I feel like I've already decided in my head, just off of my own background, that I'm going to go with the new PS5. Like I said, I just got back into video games finally, and my buddy Greg Treadwell, who's on here, commented, he gives me shit because I have an Xbox, but I try to explain to him, Will sold me his Xbox One with 2 games, a controller, a headset, the rest of his year's worth of Xbox Live for what, Will? Like $150?
Yeah.
It's a good deal.
It's
a great deal.
I had to do it. So that's why I have an Xbox now, but I think that I haven't bought a brand new system when it first came out since the PS3, when I was number 28 out of 28 available tickets to buy the new system while I waited in line at Walmart.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't used to do the pre-orders, but ever since PS3, I have been doing the pre-orders. You don't get anything extra. You don't have to pre-order, guys. It's fine. The only problem, well, actually nowadays you do because of the whole COVID thing. There's probably going to be a very limited amount, so my hand's going to be on the trigger button along with my girlfriend's. But you don't gain anything from pre-ordering except getting it first. So if you need that sort of rise, go ahead. But there's still a massive amount of games for PlayStation 4. There's a massive amount of games for Xbox. And up until 2 years ago, when people said, hey, how can I get the most bang for my buck? You know what I was telling them? Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. There is an exorbitant amount of games for those systems. You can find them dirt cheap if you're just buying it for like your kids. That's fantastic. It's all real cheap. You can get them for like $50, and it'll give you hours and hours of enjoyment. Now I just tell them, okay, well, PlayStation 4 and the Xbox. But the reality is, I mean, don't just we can't just dismiss older systems because the quality of games are still there.
Right.
I still feel like the golden age of the console era is the tail end of the PS2 era.
Yeah.
That was this magic. And what's nice about it, too, is it's just before, like, all the genres died, or before the big 3 genres were the only types of games you can make. There was a time, for those of you listening, that games weren't just in 4 different categories, that they were whatever the developers wanted to make. It's this weird fairy tale.
Right. Right.
I can't help but wonder with what you just said too. If like, there's a lot of things that I can compare to generation, or like where it was in my lifetime and why I think it's so great. And PS2 specifically in my life, where I was with my friends, that PS2 was probably just like the greatest system of ever, because not only was it a great system, but was it not the first one that was back compatible where we could play the PS1 games on it? That was just like, what? What did
Right.
you
So-
say?
Yeah. So somebody, Gregory just wrote, and I got to read this real quick. Go watch all the Xbox exclusives right now. No, just this next part. Their system is coming strong, very powerful. It will be the most powerful console ever created. My only question is this: for what? I want to tell you something right now. That right there is exactly what I tell people. Don't worry about the most powerful console, because every game that's going to be made for each console is going to run to its optimal potential for that console. So you're going to get exactly what you want out of these consoles. You're going to get the experience. It's going to look fantastic. The games is where it's at, and where all your friends have the system. If I have PlayStation, every single one of my friends are getting an Xbox, guess what? I'm probably going to change to Xbox. You know what I mean? So the multiplayer scene has exploded in the past 15 years, and it's been absolutely crazy. So think of your friends and think of the games that you want to play with those friends, and go with that type of console.
Yep,
you know?
absolutely.
Although that said, if crossplay becomes more conventional and default in the way we develop games, then
You can pick whatever you
that
want.
won't matter either. And I can't wait for that to happen.
Then I will be doing PlayStation for the rest of my life.
I see some distant future where all there is a screen and maybe a controller, and it's the same otherwise.
Wait, hold on. Google Stadia.
Exactly.
You ever
I mean
had-
that.
I have it. I love it. I had it since I'm a founder on that, and I keep raving it to people because there's almost no load times. The graphics look amazing. They just activated 5.1, and it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. That's the direction that they're going. It's got to be.
So I don't know if Stadia is gonna be what it wants to be, but for sure Stadia is the next step in that conversation to get us to that future where we no longer care what's driving what we're experiencing. We only care about the experience itself.
And the NVIDIA version of that is pretty good, and also there's an Xbox version of that. And you can actually, I believe you can try that. Anybody can try that on your phones now. If they released all of their Game Pass games on that service, where it's cloud-based, you're going to see a massive shift in everything going towards Xbox, because that is absolutely phenomenal to be able to play it on your phone, AAA games on the go. And I do love that, as being a tech gaming guy.
Do you remember when my first real experience with some crazy co-op play was SmackDown 2 on PS1?
Yes.
With
Yes.
that controller that you could plug in, and you could plug in 4 controllers into that.
Yep.
That was like revolutionary for me.
Yeah. I remember getting everybody together for Halo. We'd have you'd have to link everything up, and there'd be somebody with a TV in the bathroom and the kitchen, both bedrooms, living room, and there's just wires everywhere. It's like, holy crap, what's happening? It's a good thing I don't live with my mom still, right?
That was some real work back then.
Dude, that was a lot of work.
I figured out something, and I just want to share it because it's pretty insane that we even did it, but I don't even know how I did it. Like, I MacGyvered something as a kid where me and my buddies, we used to film everything with an old 8mm video camera, because when we were teenagers, Jackass was super popular. And we would film it, and then we would figure out how to record it, but record music onto it, right? And I can't tell you how I did this, but I promise you guys that I really did this. I used a VCR and a PlayStation and an 8mm video camera and a TV to hook up. Somehow I did this where I was able to record the footage from the 8mm onto a cassette while the audio from a CD in my PlayStation 1 was recording over it at the same time. And then all of a sudden I had a video on my VHS that had audio music on it.
That sounds way more intense than it had to be, but it worked. It worked. Oh, trust me, back in the old...
I mean, think about it. I was like 13 years old figuring this out, and I just was like, how did I even do that? I don't even know.
It's funny that you talk about the Jackass thing, because we had a video when I was younger too, and is there any kids watching? I don't know. It was called the...
They shouldn't be. It's after 10.
Go to bed, kids! You whippersnappers! It was called the Savage and Dicker Show, the not so alternative to masturbation.
Oh boy.
And we got in massive, massive trouble for that, and all the videos were taken away. And I busted my leg, and it was bad. But
oh no.
yeah, it was. It's such a It's such a weird story, but I can't get into details, kids. I'm sorry. Even the adults would cringe, I promise.
I believe you. I believe you. So let's sidestep that one.
I'm safer now. I sit behind my desk, I hang out with my cat and my girlfriend, and I go to work. That's it. Oh, man.
Now, Shawn and Tomo, are your guys's, I guess this might be an obvious question for anybody else, but are your games specifically geared to one console?
Well, PC, yeah. Right now the game is presently available on Steam and Good Old Games. And so anyone with a PC, although we don't have a Mac version working yet, we're still pretty small in the grand scheme of things, but we have been available for purchase on Steam for a couple years now, or a few years. And that game is something else. It's we like to joke around that, like, oh, we're so experienced and we're such veterans, and we would never do something like bite off more than we could chew, or try to get involved with something that's too complicated for our expected schedule of development. But oh no, all those things. It's that your passionate engagement with what you do scales to meet the needs of your future mistakes.
Would you do it again? Is the question there? Would you do it again?
Part of me wants to get through it before I answer that, but for now, yeah.
It's still happening. We can't answer that question. That's so funny. I can't even imagine having something like that made like that. I mean,
there's something interesting
what
too.
You guys do for a job.
You know, it doesn't have to be this hard, and I don't even recommend that you approach game development the way we have. You know, the mistakes we made were legitimate, and they do cause us pressure. And if other things were to go worse, it might mean the closure of a studio, and the people that we're working with, we wouldn't get to keep working with them. So taking really big risks, it's not something I'd say. You know, I do not recommend just flagrantly disregarding what is rational and trying to go out there and go crazy. I think that the irrational part is sticking to your guns and sticking to your passion. But you should still try to create the results in the marketplace that you need in order to keep doing what you do. We're lucky. Our studio does a lot of client work, and that has sustained this, what amounts to a mistake of sorts. However, I think what we didn't realize is just how intense a kind of PhD dissertation on disassembling storytelling we were embarking upon. I think that we had a lot of our average age of the people on the team skews a little older, and I think kind of in our creative maturity we started to kind of realize that games and stories more and more are going to essentially tied to each other, and we wanted to talk about that, and that's the work we did. We just didn't realize there was so much more to being able to say those statements. I think we had a little bit too much hubris there. Maybe some of the problems with some of the forces in Shawn's comic.
Well, what's nice about what you guys do that's different than like movies and things that, I mean, let's be real. We've reached a point with movies and pop culture in that aspect that there's not a whole lot from the formula that you can really deviate away from. It's either remakes or it's the same story, because there's always the formula people want, good guy, bad guy, love interest, whatever.
Predictable.
It's the fucked up shit. It's like you can't really do anything original in movies too much now unless you do something like just out of your mind crazy. But the nice thing with video games is that you guys, I feel like, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like in a world where comics, you can only really create the comic to be what it is. Same with the movies now, but the video games, you're creating like a world. You're creating a place where people can go, different rooms. It's up to you. Like, you can still have like some really cool original ideas in a world that's so full of remakes, I guess, for a lack of a better term, with stuff in pop culture. I feel like video games are still in that realm where they can really keep adventuring and building into like this whole other realm. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you. Well, I'm not going to correct you, but I'm gonna add something else to that. Maybe it's correcting. I will tell you that big AAA games, they can change mechanics but the stories and sometimes how the stories play out can be very predictable, like a movie. This is where I give a massive amount of credit to indie developers. They kind of do things out of a different the norm kind of thing, you know, away from the Red Dead Redemptions and the Fortnites and all that stuff. In my personal opinion, indies create that massive creativity of what you do and how you do it and the stories. That's one of the reasons I love indies so much, because it's not going to be the same every time I pick up an indie game. The story is going to be so different. How they do the story is so incredibly different from anything else that I've played. And I always find that AAA titles are really kind of very predictable. You know, I started God of War and, you know, it looks fantastic. It plays fantastic. The story is great. I already knew what was going to happen. It was very predictable. Red Dead Redemption was very predictable. You could see the direction, even though you can actually choose, you know, everything you choose in the game kind of points you in a different direction, but it does become a very predictable thing. But indie developers, absolutely not. It's totally opposite to me. So.
That probably falls in anything, though, as far as like when you're into it. Like I said, I've unfortunately been out of the video game world for so long that it feels like a lot of it's still so new. But I can see that as far as like my image, the best thing that I could describe is like drumming. I've drummed for so long that a lot of times you hear a TOS band, I'll finish that drum fill in my head and it's spot on, even though I didn't hear the song. That's the formula, you know, like
right.
They're going to play that drum fill there. That's just how it is. And it's probably because you're in the game so long that, it does probably seem very predictable. So
let
me just reel back what I just threw out there.
I think the process, at least in a game like Epic Tavern, of writing in games as opposed to writing a linear story in comics or a movie or something like that, it's almost the opposite process. Where in a linear story, you're looking for the best story is one that offers the single most entertaining path, the single sequence of things that can happen that get you to the best outcome. Lord of the Rings, great linear story, but there's a tremendous number of things that have to happen just so to make it, you know, get to that point.
Right.
In games, you're looking for the stories that present the most interesting range of options, because you have no idea, as the writer, which path players are going to be on. Every path is the real one for the player on it. So it's the kind of whole approach to it is you're just casting this wider net, and you're looking for what are the kind of 100 branches that can go out from this that are the most entertaining, not what is the one path going through it. And it's just a totally different world.
And you have to play all these tricks. It's like, I have so little bandwidth to convey information. So am I going to add a little bit of funny? And then I'm going to talk about a little bit of serious? And then somebody's going to die. That's what I got.
So Shawn, tell us a little bit about Epic Tavern.
What was that?
Shawn, tell us a bit about Epic Tavern in Murder on the Medway.
Epic Tavern is basically a kind of roster management role-playing game. You run the classic medieval fantasy tavern where heroes hang out. And instead of a classic RPG where you have a party of 2 heroes or 4 heroes, you've got a roster of up to, cap at 15 now, Tomo?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can send them out in configurations of up to 2 and 4, so it's got kind of a, there's like fantasy football and fantasy baseball. It's like fantasy. It's got a little bit of that element to it, where you kind of mix and match in different skills and just crazy complexity. They built this ridiculous narrative engine that can do anything. When I'm writing stuff, I can have results branch on pretty much anything that's ever happened. It can branch. Results can play out differently based on the classes of the characters you have with you, or the skills they have, or the types of items they have equipped, or the specific items they have equipped, or anything that's happened in the story up until that point, or any of their reputations with anything. So even just writing sometimes a simple stage that on the screen appears at any given time as like 40 words. Behind the scenes, determining which 40 words are the correct ones for your particular story can sometimes be this just giant pile of spaghetti of string commands. And I mean, Tomo's seen some of these.
And part of why we do that is that for players, if they like our thesis, at least, right, is that if a player feels like their choices authored this story, that it's their story now. And there's something fundamentally more engaging and something richer to connect with, even if the story isn't as interesting, because it's mine. It's cool. It's kind of, there are a number of these really complicated games like Dwarf Fortress and stuff out there where it's not like any of there's no cultivating a dramatic arc necessarily, but because the choices were mine, it feels rich to me. So we're trying to take that piece of that kind of procedural player authored experience and then connect it on the other side with some more custom storytelling to try to get the most of both those worlds.
Not this game though. Don't do it, kids. Avoid knack at all costs. Please avoid knack. It's knack.
And with Epic Tavern, you guys have won a number of awards for that, correct?
Yeah. I think we were in the selection of winners for Momocon Indie Showcase. We were in the PAX 10 this last year. That was a huge. We were very excited about that. It's a pretty big deal. It's a lot of buzz. I don't know if there's a better indie show to win than that one. It was great, and we got to go to PAX and hang out with the other 9 winners, which was even better.
That's awesome.
Nice. Talk shop.
Dude, getting to know developers is a fun game, and so any opportunity I get, I'm always on board. Shawn got to see that in full force at PAX.
Well, no, Momocon.
I mean, Momocon. Yeah. Momocon.
Yeah.
No, where's the Momocon?
I want to go to.
It was in Georgia.
Okay, so that's when I was thinking. Because I remember Shawn made a post a while back about getting to go down to that for the game, and I was like, holy shit! Like, this is so cool. Like, I love Shawn, and Shawn's been with our convention since year 1, and it just it's another one of those cool. You kind of see like the growth of somebody. So we've talked about in the past Joseph Schmalke or Ben Bishop. Kind of
there's a couple other guys that it's been so great to see. Some of the local guys that have been grinding take off. Schmalke and Ben Bishop are great examples.
Yeah, like so.
I'm just constantly cheering for them.
Yeah, they started off with just a few prints, or Ben had done artwork for a graphic novel. I don't even think he had the aggregate, his Split Decision comic out yet, and then to see where where they've gone, and then the same for Shawn. Shawn was there with Escape from Jesus Island, and and we've seen the growth with that, but then to be able to say seem like, hey, now he's gotten into developing video games. And seeing, wow, like Shawn's getting to travel the country and winning all these different awards for these projects he's working on, and talking about the new Murder on the Medway. So it's just so cool to be able to see the growth of of your friends over the years, and
now you're teaching too, right? Jumped on top of that.
No, I mean we do like school visits, just kind of talking to kids and doing QAs and stuff, but not like teaching.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought you had posted something that you were actually doing like a course type deal, but I must have misunderstood.
Well, it is a presentation though that does have a workshop element, right? And the kids do stuff.
Sure. Yeah, we do. And that's been one of the. We actually just did a group with Tomo and I both did a call with a group of college kids just a couple days ago, and that was fun because I haven't done any school visits since obviously the COVID thing hit and school shut down, so I've missed that. Just kind of the energy of being around people who really, really, really want to make games and like it connects so much with the past me, the current me too, but also the me when I was that age.
I don't know how much you just threw it together, but the thing that you pulled together for the younger kids that relates to using Inkle and the presentation kind of structure you used, I thought was very impressive. It was a very a fast track to get people who know nothing about the tools to be able to think a thing, get it working, and see it in action, all while you're standing there. That was good stuff.
Yeah, those are always so much fun.
And that changes people.
one of the things I enjoyed at last year at BCTC, and one of the things Shawn was going to we're going to further build on this year with him was having the gaming set up and be able to allow people to come into the booth and try the game, or give advice or pointers, and that's something that I've always wanted to like kind of one of our pipe dreams for the con. Prior to this year, we've been in a ballroom, which is fairly large size, but there was really no room for growth for what we were doing. And we're
no more ballroom in the ballroom.
No more ballroom in the ballroom. But
we're out of ballroom.
Moved into the arena this year, and we've kind of been joking, like, we did our final walkthrough, and we're like, holy crap, like, are we going to fit all of this in here? Like, we've gone big with this. Like, we might have to go the whole
both
building.
Both of us looked at each other and was like, wait, did this place get smaller?
and one of the things that, like, and I think even when Chris used to own the convention, we had, kind of joked about is, hey, one day if we actually get into the arena, if we're able to grow to that, what would be cool to do with the ballroom is, because it's got, like, this collapsible walls. So even, like, splitting it in half or thirds and having, like a Lego type room set up where, like, somebody comes and does, like, presentations and, like, different builds. But then having...
Wait, you still have the ballrooms in addition to the big room?
Not right now.
Not right now, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm like,
I was going to say, that's ambitious.
Yeah,
Damn.
No, definitely not this year, but it's something where it's...
Right, that's an option for... Yeah.
And one of the things I would, we kind of talked about is, like, having, like, a Lego type room, or, and then having one that's set up for, like, game development, and being able to, like, have different companies come in, and obviously, like, we're not going to get Microsoft or Nintendo or, like, Sony to come in and be like, oh, hey, we're going to announce this major game. But to be able to, like, have somebody come in and do, like, presentations, or, like, kind of like you're talking about with the students teaching a class, or even, like, some, like, developers come and say, hey, these are some of the games we're working on. Here's kind of a sneak peek at some of the things we're doing. I think would be a really cool feature for us.
I always get really nervous when Will starts talking about more space, because then he calls me and says, hey, do you think you could fill up more stuff? Like, can you bring more stuff? And, oh, man. You've done that to me twice, just to let you know.
Hey, I mean, look at you last year, though. You guys were packed.
I'm gonna do very small amount of toot my own horn. Winterhouse Gaming did an amazing job last year, and I was so proud of my guys. I was so proud of everyone that helped us, and I was happy that you guys gave us that space. And it was stressful beyond anything imaginable, but we pulled it off together, and it was fantastic. So
I think one of the coolest
Kelly,
things with that,
Tony, and Eric, thank you very much.
Yeah, you guys had an amazing. It was so cool. Like, it's almost like one of those, like, showstoppers. You come around the corner and it's just, this giant.
Oh my God! It was a wall of people.
Wall of, like,
it was amazing.
72-inch flat screen TVs. And
it was unreal.
And then we had Josh Petersdorf, who's the voice for Roadhog in the Overwatch games, and then Cooper Andrews, who's Jerry in The Walking Dead. We actually got them. They were back and forth with each other all weekend. Like, who's better at Overwatch?
Playing the game together was amazing.
And have them play, live stream, and have them play in the middle of the convention, and just see, like, this swarm of people filling around it. So that was a cool experience.
It was I felt really bad for the security there, trying to get everybody to get out of the middle of the aisle, but there was so many people, they just couldn't. It was just, you just had to push through and just do what you can do. But it was truly
silly when they even do that, because you're like, yeah, I get it, it's an aisle, but we created this aisle. There are other ways to get around.
Go around.
Yeah. This is one big room. We just made this aisle. Go to another one.
There are more.
I feel like if it's your booth, you love the traffic jam.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I kept looking at it. I've got an amazing aerial view of it, and every time I looked at it, I couldn't believe that it was something that we had created. Because
everybody around you was just getting butts and crotches in their face.
Butts and yeah, it was awesome. It was probably a massive defining moment, for us in gaming. And I will never forget that first BCTC that I've done.
I think one of Chris's words that he always liked to use was "butt to nut." He always wants a butt to nut.
It was. Well,
it was for sure. Yeah.
Want
that.
Sean, tell us a little bit about Murder on the Medway. How did that all? What was your inspiration for that? How did that get started?
That's a series that I'm writing for the Tales app, and it's a murder mystery werewolf story set in a traveling carnival. So it's episodic, ongoing. We've got 4 out so far. The 5th one is not far behind. And it's kind of like a playable, choose your own adventure sort of thing but with artwork and some other kind of. And you mentioned the story behind it. When I was younger, 19, I tried to run off with a circus, and I had actually had it all set up that I was going to be a roustabout, and shovel elephant shit by day, and train in juggling it at night. And there was just a misunderstanding with the ringmaster, where because they didn't have formal apprenticeships, he thought I didn't want the job, so I showed up with all my stuff ready to go that day, and he had given the job to somebody else. So I've always been, it's like this big open wound that I've been carrying around for 20 years. So being able to do a kind of creepy carnival mystery was a nice way to kind of heal that wound a little bit.
Yeah,
and
try to live it out a little bit.
Right. Because, my brain's been kind of playing around for all that time of what would have happened, and what adventures would I have had on the road with
real quick, Carnival. Sean, for all of us, in your words, what's a roast about?
The people, the laborers at the carnival.
Okay.
Do the setting up the tents and the shoveling of the shit. And
I had never heard that term before. I've never heard of a roast about.
Yeah, just general circus laborers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So you were going to do, what was going to be your, your specification as far as what was going to be your trick and everything? You said juggling?
Well, I'm not a performance caliber juggler anymore. When I was younger, I was a fairly confident.
No, I know. But when you were doing the circus, what was going to be your...
I was hoping to be a juggler.
What was
hoping.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh my God. I've always wanted to juggle.
One of the performer jugglers there, and he tested me a little bit and said that as long as I took care of all my roustabout work during the day, he'd work with me a little bit in off hours and hopefully, transition over to being a performer, which obviously didn't happen. So yeah, that one had been a big open wound. So it was kind of fun to dive back into that and sort of repaint some of those memories in a more positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Your open wound story is some. Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, so Sean, you kind of wear many hats. You started with, writing Escape from Jesus Island. You've got the video game background, but you also wrote a movie, correct?
Yeah, I did a movie. Wrote and directed a movie called The Wrong House. Back, God, it's been 15 years, 10 years. It's been I don't know, 12 years, 2008. And that was kind of what started everything. That was the first project I did after our kids had grown and moved out, and I sort of had the free time now, and also felt like I had a little bit of freedom to take some chances. Whereas when we're raising kids, you got to play everything safe and make sure you got. Right. We finally got to a point where let's do something. Let's make a movie, and Sue and I self-financed that and put it out, and that really kind of started everything. That directly led to Escape from Jesus Island, which directly led to Epic Tavern, which has led to a whole bunch of stuff since then.
It's a nice snowball effect, domino effect type thing.
It's been great. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It really points to, though, you got to do stuff, and that's the barrier you got to break through.
Yep.
Got to do things, finish them, move on, keep growing.
It's all relevant. It can feel like that if you wanted to break into games, then maybe making a comic isn't the most relevant thing, but it all is. If you can prove that you have the ability to tell a story and that you have the motivation and the drive to knock something out start to finish, then if I'm looking to bring on other writers for Epic Tavern down the road, they're having a strong experience in games is not necessarily important because they have me as their translator, for that sort of thing. So, we'll be looking for people who've made stuff and who've created things and who have drive and who we know that when there's not someone looking down over their shoulder, they're still going to be creating stuff because they have this love for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everything's relevant. Anything you make in any genre is going to help you get anywhere else. It all counts.
And there's some essential skills that are creativity focused that you get regardless of what you're doing. And those skills sometimes are kind of easy to overlook.
Yeah, I think cool, not to toot Jay's horn here, but, Jay kind of started off with wood burning, which got into his love for doing tattoos. And you've been tattooing, what, 2 years now, Jay? Is that right?
Over 3 years now, professionally, yeah.
And just seeing, Jay's transformation from the start to, what he's able to put out now. But, and this is, fingers crossed thing for Jay. A couple episodes ago, we had Catherine Sutherland on, Pink Ranger from Power Rangers. And Jay found out that she actually had written a children's book for her children. And Jay was kind of saying, hey, I've kind of always wanted to do illustration for a children's book and whatnot. And then next thing you know, she's like, well, let's do a book together. So,
awesome.
So hopefully that happens. But it's just kind of cool, seeing that.
So actually, with you bringing that up, though, I mean, it's totally, yeah. And this is where I'm kind of shitting myself. You guys are on this realm where, it's exactly what you just said, Shawn, or actually, I can't remember if it was you or Tomo that said it, but are doing stuff. You got to actually do stuff and start it and finish it. And that's where I'm I overthink things so much. And that's one thing that's so hard about being a tattoo artist is that if somebody came to me, if I drew something and you said, wow, I really like that, I want that as a tattoo, that's totally different than I didn't really overthink that. But if somebody comes to me and says, I want this, now I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be permanent. This is going to be an image that's going to be on them. I'm going to make sure that I get it perfect, and I start overthinking it. And that's the same kind of thing when I'm relating to you guys. Actually, I respect and commend you guys for being able to write stories and take something and start and finish, because I've always drawn, but now all of a sudden that Catherine even acknowledged doing a book with me or something, I'm like, oh my God, I actually, I need to actually do this. I can't just throw this aside, I need to start drawing. So I went out and I got some Bristol paper and I got I'm almost starting back at the beginning. I've been doing tattoos for so long now that my thought process on how to draw is way different than it was 3 years ago. Yeah. Everything's so digital. I take an image and I draw a stencil of it, and then I just try to bring that stencil to life. But now, thinking about, I can't just go find an image and stencil it. That's stealing. That's tracing. I gotta actually draw these images.
You have to make something up out of nothing.
Yeah. Exactly. And I've never done that. I've always drawn, but I've always been a reference artist. I've always been somebody that's I'm gonna go sit outside. I'm gonna look at this building or this car, and I'm going to draw that as close as I possibly can to what I see. I've never been somebody that comes up with ideas and goes, I got to get this on a paper. I got to get this out of my head. I can't do it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that the idea that you're going to construct visuals and you're going to try to get the best result, drawing from, I don't know, our imagination, it's a fine skill and it can be really satisfying thing to do, right? But if you're going to create a product that you craft that image has a message, it has a statement, and you have an experience that says that maybe that building or this other thing that I've seen, these are the things I want to combine so I can say that better. It's I'm a huge fan of drafting skills that our hands can have, and I did a lot of drawing and art in school. But since then, I now realize that the things that we create, it's how people respond to them that matters. Yeah. And now it doesn't matter if I'm good at drawing.
Yeah.
Do you
right.
Do you want me to come over so you can draw me like one of your French girls?
I actually have drawn you all like one of my French girls. I don't know about it.
Last thing, James searching photos of Tomo, how can I can work with this. Yeah.
This is the only thing I can give you to that cool conversation, because I don't know what to draw when I was younger. But.
I think that's totally right, though, for sure. It's it's really it's like putting on a new hat and you're unsure if that hat looks good. And somebody goes, man, that hat looks good. And you're immediately like, oh, it does look good. Okay. It's like solidifying that. Like, yeah, you're doing it. And the second you get that positive response, you're like, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm on the right path.
I'm doing something right for somebody.
Yeah, yeah. Because, I mean, really, that's all it comes down to. It's like the same with us doing the convention. Like I said, if we didn't do this convention, there wouldn't be one. But then again, that would suck to not have one. So we need to do it. You know, like
Bangor needs your convention. Trust me, we need it. we have
does.
Maine does exactly. We have very little up here for stuff for gamers, cosplayers, and outreach to to different things outside of Maine. And the Bangor Comic and Toy Con does that for us. So we will be fighting right along with you to get that done.
Well, we really appreciate it. I mean, and that's really what it comes down to a lot of times is like Will and I think if we, we want to keep doing this as long as we can, but what it really comes down to is like, that's why when we meet people like Tomo, and obviously Shawn knows what we're talking about, but it's like, I want you not even so much to come to our convention so you can be necessarily part of the convention. I want you to come up and hang out with us and let us show you a good time. Like, I think Will and I enjoy more being able to host. It's like hosting a party.
Yeah.
You're good at it.
That's how we feel about it.
Yeah, I think.
I mean,
their parties are awesome. That. I know firsthand.
I think like the cool thing too is, it's, like Dave said, Dave and Winterhouse are doing everything they can to help make sure this event happens. Or do the best that they can at the convention to make, to bring that piece. And I feel like that's the same way with a lot of the vendors, all of the artists. We've got people who, even attendees that they just love this. And it, me and Jay toss around the word family a lot when it comes to BCTC, but it's truly what this has become. Like, Shawn, like you said, Shawn's been there since year one, so 5 years, as well as some of the halfway, the halfway mid, fall shows that we do. Same with like Ben Bishop, Joseph Schmolke. We've had vendors that have been there since year one, and they do. It becomes a family, and it's like, hey, we're getting together to see everybody and catch up. But all these people want that same thing. They want this to succeed, and they want to do everything they can in their power. So it's so nice to know that we have such an amazing support system behind us of people that, they care about this just as much as we do. They may not be running it, but
we have a benefit. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that we have a benefit because people like Shawn and people like Dave have seen us at our worst. Like you've actually seen the convention not do very well, and that's not a slight at anybody, but let's be real, and you still continue to come. And that's not because of the convention. It's because, I would imagine, because of the people there and the experience. And we try to treat everybody like family when they come here. And because at the end of the day, even if that last convention that we did was the last convention that we did, I had an amazing time, and the feedback that we got from everybody that, they just thought that it felt very down to earth. And I was in the hospitality service for a long time, so I feel like my biggest thing, I'm still that guy that at a barbecue, I'm going to ask you if you need something else to drink, or I'm going to clear your plate for you, because that's just who I am. And Will's worked with special need people for so long. Like we just want to have a good time and see people else also have a good time. Like that makes us feel good.
And the friendships that you create in something like that are absolutely phenomenal. All the people that I would have never met outside of doing this. Even as a gamer, we never went to conventions outside of the States. We never were. I wasn't really interested in any sort of cosplay. I like looking at pictures and stuff like that. People that do that. But until I started experiencing it at you guys' convention, and then also a few other ones that have happened in the state, it's been really eye-opening and an experience that it's just, you're never going to forget that.
Yeah,
and 3D games is dear to my heart now. I love those guys.
So Brian's a gem. I love him. He's such a good guy. And it sucks. Like, I don't know, Dave, if you saw it, but due to the whole COVID situation, he actually had to shut down his Skowhegan store.
I saw that
announced the other day, unfortunately. But Brian, yeah, he's been there since year one, and I mean that guy, he goes all out. He gets a giant corner booth, and he fills it every year. And they started bringing out a Pikachu suit, and just
he's got some
awesome.
amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. He really does.
And I mean, talking to family, Johnny Lynch has been there since year one. I can still tell you, I remember the very first cosplay I saw Johnny doing was his Ash from Ash versus Evil Dead, or Evil Dead, however you want to. And and every week he's sitting here tuning in with us twice a week, commenting the whole way through. So just having that support from people it's fantastic.
What are you gonna say, Tomo?
I was just going to say that I'm a huge believer in everything you're saying here, and just kind of wanted to draw an analogy that I think some people it's easy to overlook. We look at these products that we enjoy and we see them as somehow special and different. And you guys are going out there and really connecting with people and trying to bring them together. As you mature as a creative, you realize more and more of your job is actually just figuring out what people need and getting them that. And you're doing exactly that, bringing people together, real people together, people that you're going to keep interfacing with. And I think over at Hyperkinetic Studios, over the long course of time, we've come to realize that it's not our talents that keep us going. It's our community that keeps us going.
Yeah,
and so
I love that.
we've really shifted our perspective over the last at least roughly the last 10 years from what is a game to what is an audience.
Yeah, and that's tenfold for us being me being a streamer and stuff. I mean, people are watching the game, but it's you have to. I keep telling them this morning. I'm going to tell you this story. This is kind of embarrassing. It's a little bit embarrassing. We met a milestone this morning, and I cried on stream. Big hairy weird guy. He's crying on stream. I had to turn off the camera, and I came back, and
that was you.
It broke it. These guys this morning broke me, and I told them, this community. This is what it is. It's a family. It's a community. The same people come back. These hundreds of people that are just. You don't do these things without them. You really don't. And the love that you feel from this stuff, and with Bangor Comic and Toy Con, the love that you feel from these people giving you this feedback and helping and enjoying what you're doing it means so much. And I feel the love every single time I discuss, and the passion when I discuss it with Jay, and when I discuss BCTC with Will, and he comes to me for a lot of this stuff. The passion that they have for the community is tenfold, and it's really what sticks these things apart from other places that I have been, and I love that. But community is very, very important, in doing this, what you can for the community, and they do what they can for you, and enjoying everything is number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just real quick, you mentioned before about how you've enjoyed kind of seeing some of the people come up through the convention, go on to have careers. Like Ben Bishop and Joe Schmalke and some of the others. Don't undervalue your role in that. You weren't a bystander for that. You helped with that. The convention provides a real platform. It provides real value, not just a financial boost, but in terms of exposure, in terms of people knowing about your work. It's not a thing that you've been watching from the sidelines, these people growing and everything. You're a chapter in every one of those success stories. You're multiple chapters every year. You're another chapter in every one of those success stories. And we really appreciate it. I mean, everybody in the local creative community talks about the show the same way.
Yeah, and the people that you keep around and the people that you continue to interact with and help in that sense are reaching our families too. Even my family that hasn't even been there. My mother, Ashley, the artist that you bring every time you have a convention, she's an amazing artist. She did a drawing of my family's dog that had passed away. And my mother has no clue that the reach from this picture, goes all the way to this convention. I was telling her the story of, you bringing Ashley to all these conventions and the interactions I've had with her when I never normally would have. And then she created this drawing I still think it was magic. I don't know. I've never seen all the drawings and artists I've seen. They're amazing, but the reach that you guys have through these artists and then through to our families, it's immense. It's incredible.
I don't think Will and I think about it that way, so it's really nice to hear you guys talk about it like that. I mean, I think at the end of the day, Will and I both are just kind of like, we do it because it's what we like to do, and not even that we feel like we owe it to everybody, but just the community, like everybody, you know, like Chris started this amazing thing, and he got a really good following, and I got to be part of it, and Will got to be part of it, and all these other people got to be part of it, and then it was going to end, and Will jumped up and was like, we need to keep this going, you know, and thank God, you know, it ended up being me and him or whoever, but Will jumped onto this train. He's like, we need to keep this going, and it's for everybody. Like it's a lot of work, and we always try to tell people, you know, we try to make sure that people know, and I don't know if it's the same for you guys and what you do, but it's not like we run to the bank after this. Like this is literally like a passion for us. This is just, we get beat into the ground. We work on this for the whole year. We try to bring all this together for the whole weekend. We just,
it's one of the coolest hobbies ever.
and then at the end, it's like, it's the experiences that are worth it, because at the end of the day, whether it was band stuff, waiting tables, doing tattoos, hanging out with you guys, those are all my experiences. Those are the things that I get to take with me, and you know, I appreciate that over money any day. So I appreciate what you guys are saying.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Like I never looked at it the way, you know, Shawn had just explained. You know, look at it as, you know, chapters in that story for those people. Like, so it's really cool to, like, you know, hear those outside perspectives. Because I mean, like Jason,
it's very humbling. It's almost hard to hear, because it's just like, really?
I mean, like, you know, like people reach out and like say thank you all the time to us, or like, you know, how much they love the event, or like Jay said, you know, we've had, you know, artists, or, you know, or people we've had even on the stream say, hey, I appreciate you guys just for doing this piece alone, because like for me mentally, it's, you know, I needed this charge for me. You know, we've got Justin Soderbergh, who commented on this earlier, who had just said, hey, you know, like it's like being in the same room with you guys. Like I'm with my family, I'm setting up like a makeshift camp for the night. We're doing a bonfire, and we're all sitting around the fire watching you guys, and, you know, it's like we're there with you. You know, so it's just so cool to.
It's crazy. You don't know you need a life-size Rock'em Sock'em robot until you go to Bangor Comic and Toy Con. You don't know. You have no clue that you needed that in your life.
we definitely need to figure it out. Tomo, clear your schedule, October 2nd through the 4th.
Do it.
You need to come up and hang out with us.
Awesome.
Yeah,
sounds like a solid plan.
We'll get you out here, put you up in the hotel. We'll make it happen.
Cool.
Great. You're more than welcome. Like, honestly, that would be great to have you with us. It wouldn't be the same. It almost feels like.
Right?
Yeah,
awesome. I think that's, you know, touching on that again, like, you know, people's passion for, you know, for this event. Like, you know, I keep going back to Ben Bishop, but the strides that Ben Bishop has made, and now we were lucky enough that we're one of the few conventions that will have, hopefully, as long as it all works out, are going to still have Kevin Eastman. And how cool is it to bring Kevin Eastman back home?
It's huge.
To his home state. And it was just going to be, that's all it was going to be. He was going to be here for the convention, but with the stuff Ben does with the local brewing company, he got it set up so we'd be only the second convention in the world to have a beer done by Kevin Eastman. You know, and that's just because, like, this is Ben's home state. This is Kevin's home state.
That's cool.
And Ben loves this. You know, and then talking with Shawn, like, Shawn's someone that I absolutely love, you know, as we've said before. And for him, like, hey, Shawn, we want you to be a part of this. Like, you know, I enjoy, like, one of my favorite people to talk to throughout the weekend is getting to spend time with Shawn. And for having to be like, hey, like, do you guys have room? Like, would you be interested in having my mentor Tomo come on? Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, and it's just so cool to see those things, you know, kind of building. Like Jay said, it would be, you know, it's, granted, it's only been like, you know, maybe an almost 2-hour Skype call, But it's like, you get to know you, and it's like, yeah, now we want you. You're like, it's not even want, like, okay, we need to have Tomo come out here as long as he can do it. So it's just, it's super
experience
cool
it with us.
Well, it's interesting. On the other side of this conversation, we end up, talking to a lot of students and trying to kind of have, get-togethers. Back in the day, get-togethers. More recently, more like Zoom calls, I guess. And one of the most important pieces of advice to give out is that, people get really uncomfortable socializing because it's hard. And at the same time, that is really, networking is one of the most important parts of any career, unless you're like literally not going to work with anybody, right? In order to do great things, we need to work together. And so the social part is, the worse it gets, the harder it is for everyone to move forward. And on top of that, it turns out people like making friends with each other.
Those people weren't that bad.
Oh, I feel good.
Yeah. Well, and it's like what we do, right? We're trying to spread good feelings because it makes everything go better. I'm going to try to make a product that makes you happy to have been with our product. And then that moves on beyond that, right? I mean, hopefully from a pure profit standpoint, we hope you go and say, hey, you should buy this too. But the secondary effects, or maybe the primary effects are, I have a good time because of something you did, and that makes me pay that good time forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, 100%. And I think that's what drives our convention. I mean, we are such on a smaller, like, we have a very successful convention, I feel. Like, we do a very good job. But as far as, like, these, like, I'm one of those people that take tattoos, for example. I feel like I do a very good job at tattoos, but there's always somebody in my head that does it way better that I'm comparing myself to, always. And it's the same with the conventions. I feel like we do a very good job. But, of course, in the back of my head, there's Rhode Island, there's New York, there's Florida, there's obviously San Diego.
Wow,
which
you are tough. You are comparing that to, like...
Yeah, you're going to, like, you're going, like...
Wow.
We're like the local sub shop, and you're like,
That's how my mind works, though, is I'm thinking, like, when somebody was, like, with wood burning, they go, wow, you do a really good job of wood burning. I go, oh, really? Well, look at this person that makes me want to quit wood burning. Yeah. Like, that's how my mind works.
No, I agree. Like, I think it's always good to, like, you never want to, like, settle. You never want to be like, this is the best it's going to get. Like, I did everything I could. Like, me and you have said ourselves, hey, we know there was things that we could change and needed to change, and we've basically, we've implemented so many new procedures for the con. We've gone back to, different changes people will get to see. But then, our mentor, Mike Broder, who runs the Galaxy Cons, massive conventions that, he does 6 or 7 of them throughout the country. We are not even on the same scale, not even close.
You guys are really funny. This is literally you. Sorry to interrupt you, Will. This is literally you guys right now. Hey, you see this really cool word I made up? Yeah, but have you seen the alphabet?
But the same thing. It's like, you see those things, so you want to strive to see, like, how can I better what I'm doing.
Use it as fuel, man.
One of the coolest things for me, it's like, going to GalaxyCon down in Raleigh last year, it was as much a learning experience. Like, hey, what can I go in and see that they're doing that I can better to help get our product to the next level. So
I think one of the biggest problems is that we're talking to people like yourselves, is we're bringing in people at like a caliber, that we're thinking, okay, yeah, we're running a small convention, but we're still having Skype conversations with designers and actors and creators and all that. So it's almost like, our convention might not be on the same scale, but we're still dealing with like these same people. So it's like you almost feel like you need to catch up and you need to like jump forward.
Well, I also think once you hit a certain level, bigger isn't always better. Right. There's a sweet spot in conventions, and one of the things that's best about your show is that it's just big enough to bring in like people you really want to meet, to bring in some people you want to spend time with, but it's still small enough that you can actually spend time with those people. You can interact with them. You're not just getting shuffled through a line. You can have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
And the bigger you get, I mean, there's obviously there's advantages that come from growth, and but there's trade-offs too, And you guys are in a really just wonderful, at least from the user side, you're in just a perfect sweet spot.
No,
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's a good thing for
agree
Jason
with
Marsden. He comes up here and I babysit his child all weekend.
I have a martial arts story to share.
Yeah,
So,
please.
the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighting art, right? That became real popular and world renowned.
Yeah.
The story
Hoist
is Hoist Gracie was and by the way, he's like the littlest of the
Right.
sons. But the dad, a guy named Helio Gracie, the guy who basically invented the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, his pathway to greatness was, I need to get into fights with the judo masters in Japan. That's my plan. That's his plan. His plan to grow was get the biggest guys out there, get into fights with them, and learn.
Yep.
Then there is no substitute for going toe to toe against invincible foes.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, that feels like that's been like my business model forever, and I'm just like, I'm gonna put myself up against the greatest, and then wonder why I failed against them.
Yeah, be David and take on Goliath.
It's this logic of like, I can't wait to lose to that person.
Yeah. No, it literally is.
Yeah.
It literally is.
And
Because
if you do
I'm
the
gonna
math,
learn something.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say that's because I in my mentality, I'm gonna learn something from losing.
For sure. I would go so far as to say, by the way, if you do the math, you can't grow off of success. You can only grow off of failure.
Yeah.
At least up here, at least, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
finances need some success.
Right.
Looks different on paper, doesn't it?
Right. Sean,
What is
Sean,
a
to your
profit,
point,
anyways?
Sean, to your point, that's something that I think Jay and I have internally talked about ourselves, but we've also talked about on previous episodes of this, where I think one of the things that any of the guests that we've brought on, or staff members or artists, that they always hit on is the same thing you said: the time that you get to have with that artist or with that celebrity, that memory that lasts with you. And with one of those things is we're growing every year, and if we get to our buddy Al was saying, with the rate you guys are going and with the formula that Mike basically set you guys up with, there's no reason why in a few years you guys shouldn't be pushing 20,000 people. And as cool as that would be, there's still, like you said, that struggle. The growth is fantastic, but how do we keep that feel that we currently have? Because that's one of the greatest, or I think like the most magical things about this, is the personal stories that each one of us could share that we've had at the convention with somebody, and and that experience that you wouldn't get to have elsewhere. Jay talks about Fan Expo and basically being like hurled like cows throughout
Cattle.
Right. Throughout, like,
That sounds awful.
Every guest that you've ever had at that show that I had like an excitement and an interest in beforehand, I got to have a memorable encounter with.
Yeah.
Every single time.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and that's like the tough part. Like, obviously growth is fantastic to a point, but how do we make sure we're still capturing that magic and being able to provide that awesome experience for the con goers that so many people have grown used to over the years?
Well, I've seen a lot of really large-scale things in my career, and the way I'd like to describe it is that as long as you're growing because your objective is to create a better experience for others, then the choices you make will be the right ones. The trouble comes when you're growing because you want to be bigger. That's your goal. If my goal is to be bigger, then I get there however I can, and it's not for the same reasons why you've been successful so far. And it's easy to get caught up in that, by the way.
You're like a beautifully spoken Yoda. And
That doesn't jumble your words, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. That's very cool. That's very
There's
cool.
been a few things all of you guys have said that have really hit me at home, and I really, really appreciate it, because at the end of the day, it's the same with politics. I stay out of it because I try to deal with stuff that I can control. I can control who I am and who I surround myself with and the experience that I have with those people. And I feel like it's the same with these conventions. It's the same with anybody. Like, we love bringing people here because, you know, it's not so much about the convention. It's like, hey, you've never been to Bangor or Maine. Is there somewhere that you wanted to check out while you were here? Well, let's take you there and check it out. You know?
Yeah,
Well,
no,
let's,
absolutely. Like we've got a volunteer. Her name's Christina, but everyone knows her as Mom or Con Mom.
I love her.
And
She makes
so
great chili, by the way.
She's a nurse, and she basically takes the whole week off of the con for us, and any of the guests that fly in on Wednesday or Thursday, especially like, you know, people like Tomo. You're in California, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know, sometimes the flights for that, you know, to get here, because Bangor isn't an international airport, but it's still an adventure. Not to mention, you know, the change in time. So a lot of them will fly in on Wednesday or Thursday to have that extra day, and so Friday before the convention, she'll be like, "Hey, who wants to go to Bar Harbor? It's like a 45-minute drive from here,
Nice.
but it's right on the coast. You know, we've got Mount Katahdin out there, Sand Beach, and it's just like that quaint, it's like a very quaint New England small town. It's like almost like going back in time a bit, you know, to the feel to it, and it's just one of those cool experiences that she'll load. You know, we rent like a 15-passenger van, and we'll cart them out there for the day, and she'll show them around, bring them to the ocean, and drive them up to the top of the mountain to see
The beauty of Maine.
Yeah, to see
Yeah,
everything.
dude. Let's keep going with some wise words of knowledge. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mambo number 5. Sorry, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. I know how to ruin a good time.
I was going to ask, though. That's a good
Sandstorm.
segue there, Dave. As far as what time we got left for everybody, Will has some like trivia questions. Do we got time? You guys want to stick around for a few more minutes? You guys all
Oh my
good?
God, trivia?
Sure, that works for me.
Yeah.
Mom, is it bedtime?
I think I'm good.
Did she bring the meatloaf yet, Dave?
Mom, the meatloaf!
Well, I figure we can do the
I think
the
Carrie's
trivia,
sleeping.
and then we can do you know, everybody tell us where to find their stuff at. Quick thing, sign off, and you know, we've hit about 2 hours, so we want to keep everybody all night. What time is it? Is it like 7 o'clock, Tomo?
6
where you
for
are?
Tomo. Was it 6?
7.
Oh my God,
7.
lucky.
Oh, it's 7.
Yeah, it's 10 for you guys, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect with this, by the way, and I got to say, I'm very pleasantly surprised and also really impressed with kind of the earnest and honest kind of vibe you guys have, and definitely now I'm very much thinking a little more specifically about Bangor Comic-Con.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah, I'm
awesome
very
to hear.
glad. I mean, that's like, we try not to get in our heads too much, but I mean, that's really all this is for, is just to have a good time and shoot the shit with each other and invite different people that can kind of contribute a different story to the episode, you know? So thank you for being here for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, again, like Dave's kind of helped take this to the next level with setting up the OBS and the layout. But, you know, as fun as this is, Jay and I also do make sure, like, we take it serious. So, you know, when Shawn had said, hey, you know, there's the opportunity that we could have you with us, Tomo, I think the last easily 4, if not 5 days, Jay and I have been like, all right, let's get some research done. Like, let's find out, like, you know, let's get some stuff to ask. And we're like watching YouTube videos, like interview things you've done, just so like we could try to, you know, make sure that we're prepared and, you know, and have you feel welcomed, you know, and just have a good time with us. So I'm glad to hear that.
The truth is, I'm just a filler here.
Well,
I mean,
thank you very
like,
much.
You
I'm just a beautiful beard, you know.
I definitely like the mention of Die by the Sword, by the way, because that's super old school.
Yeah, so
It was very old school. I had to check it out for sure, like, because, well, out of the games that were listed on your I don't know, I want to say discography because I'm so used to music, but you know, the games that you've done.
The pretentious word they use is ludography.
What is it?
Ludography.
Ludography. Okay, all right, good to know.
That's awesome.
Medal of Honor. It said, what year was it? 2005.
Medal of
No.
Honor was from probably 2008 to 2010.
Oh, okay. That was before. I think I only played Medal of Honor on PlayStation 1.
Yeah,
Like
you're talking
the
about like
first-
original Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg style Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one I played. So
The story
I'm
is
a
he
little
called the Medal of Honor Society himself to ask for permission to use the name.
No way.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, I was very like Dave when he says like, no, Dave's more of our buffer. Like Dave's the guy. I'm like, if I don't know what's going on, I'm hoping Dave's gonna jump in and answer.
Dude, you
Because-
did a fantastic job, I gotta say. Yeah, he was a little nervous at first. He's like, just kind of go in there. I'm like, no, man, you got this, buddy.
Awesome. Well, and I would feel the same level of nervousness actually if we brought in someone who was like a new game developer, like someone of more of recently today. Trying to keep up with the next generation is its own endless effort.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an experience where you've how old are you? You said 47?
Yeah.
Have you had an experience where you've jumped in with a new 25-year-old big shot that just like you don't even know how to talk to?
You mean like JP from Grandma's Boy?
yeah, exactly.
You'd understand. You'd understand if you had robot ears.
Having those kids helped out with that too. I can navigate that conversation now, and I don't have anything to prove, so I can just it helps so much.
Right.
I think when we're younger, we get these attitudes and we get crazy, and it makes things way too complicated.
Yeah, I think that's like
Yeah.
one of the things that I took the most from. I can't remember. So there's a YouTube video of an interview you did. My 18 years of game design. So it was back in 2016. But that's where you were kind of talking like I got my start with Die by the Sword. And like I was kind of more like cocky, arrogant going into it, and being able to see like that growth that you've had and ways to like kind of that you've kind of changed to to adapt to things and just like seeing like Dave said like the wisdom that you're sharing with us and and stuff. So it's really cool to see that.
Hey, it's easy to gather wisdom. All you gotta do is make a bunch of mistakes and let time pass.
There it is, man. There it is.
That's right.
I should be in good shape then.
How do you
I've done lots of both.
how do you keep going with that?
All right, so yeah, like Jay said,
Well, I quit.
I'm out. So
Yeah,
as
so
Jay
this
said,
trivia?
last episode we had Josh, the owner of one of the co-owners of Queen City Cinema Club. It's a great, cool little place, Tomo, and if we do get to have you come up in October, we'll have to bring you by.
Nice.
So it's basically like it's a do-it-your-own venue. They've got 2 small theaters you can rent out. They've got over a 3,000 movie catalog. You can bring in video games. They've got like booths that you can sit in. They've got back when they have I want to say back to at least N64 if not older. Gaming consoles right up to the current stuff. Food and beer.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's an awesome little place, and so I host trivia there Thursdays, or did till all of this happened. So I thought it'd be cool since we had Josh on last episode to kind of kick off a thing called quarantine trivia. So
Right.
kind of tie everything around the episode. So last time I think we did. I only did like 6 or 8 movie type questions, but I'm going to do
so
everything
terrible at
gaming
this.
for this one. So
Oh,
let's.
I'm not as quick with gaming
I'm probably
trivia as I
gonna
want
lose.
to be. Let's do it. Let's lose together.
Let's do it.
All right, so probably I'll just probably go down the list. So and I can't say if they're going to get easier or harder as we go. But for the people that are still watching, you guys are welcome to join in and play along with us. I will say,
Johnny, let's do it.
I will say, where's my?
Hands off the keyboard.
Yeah,
Hands
hands
off
off
the
keyboard. No Googling.
Yeah, right.
Johnny won last episode, so I'm going to give away a BCTC T-shirt and a print for the viewer that answers the most questions right. I'll let you guys know that are on the stream with us. There is obviously a bit of a delay, so I'll ask the question. We'll maybe give it a minute for people that are watching to try to answer. and then you guys can also throw in your answer as well.
It's about a 15-second delay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first question is, what is the highest grossing game of all time?
Do I just yell it?
No,
You gotta
can
wait
in a
at
minute.
least
Yeah, we're
15
just like I said,
seconds.
we'll give it a second for that delay to pick to catch up for people.
I'm trying to think, man. Oh my god.
Oh,
Okay.
come on, Jay.
I'll
Come
tell you, it's not
on.
what I thought it was.
Really?
It's actually a fairly hard question, I think.
2 ideas.
So maybe I'm wrong. Someone text me it. Hey, Tomo, tell me what you think it is.
Yeah, but I feel like you can at least throw out a name of a super, super popular game, you know?
Yeah, I feel like you guys can obviously answer now, and then like I can give it a minute, and I can after I can tell if anybody got it right. I won't just be like, oh yeah, you're instantly right.
We can like strip away some of the some obvious things that might come to people's minds that aren't going to be the best selling game of all time. You know, there was probably like in terms of total copies for a while, like Myst was one of the best selling PC games from way back when.
God, I love Myst.
And a lot of those games from the past that had these huge successes, they just can't compete today. Because today there's so many more human beings that are willing to buy games. So the numbers, it has to be a more contemporary title. So, and we can imagine like there was a time where they would say the Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64 was one of the greatest or biggest best-selling games of all time. Yep. But since then, things have changed.
They have.
Yeah.
I can't say any of these. I can't say any of these games. I'm gonna wait.
My guess actually is a game that we've mentioned in this conversation.
Right.
Mine is too, actually.
Mm-hmm. Mine too.
So, Dave, we'll start with you.
Let me ask you this.
You'll start with me? Okay, hold on. Go ahead.
Wait, quick.
What is Jay going to say?
Is it a franchise or like is it like the name of the game and then even if they like built off of it kind of thing? You know what I mean? Are we being super specific?
I think you have to say the exact title that sold the most.
Yeah, so I will say that for the answer that I have, and I don't know, from the few sources I have, it is not it's its own standalone. It's not like one of X amount of them.
Okay.
That's that changes things then.
Yep.
There's my other guess.
I'm out. Somebody guess. I got nothing because what I was gonna guess was not a standalone.
I'm legit gonna say what I first originally thought, and they said it in chat. Grand Theft Auto 5.
That's right.
It spans across generations. The online play, yeah. It spans across generations of consoles too, and I know I own it for 5 consoles.
Yeah.
All right, Tomo.
Well, and GTA 5 that would have been my guess actually, and then what you said changed, of course. But it is worth noting that there's something like 120 million units of GTA that have been sold, and that's not even considering the quite massive number of microtransaction revenues that it generates, and it keeps on generating, and it just keeps on generating. Yeah. It's totally nuts.
So now, I will say this.
Now, if we're talking about the game that made the most money now, if we're not going to say GTA 5, I think the next one is pretty obvious. The next guess would be.
Absolutely obvious.
What's your guess, Tomo?
Okay, well then I'll go and I'll say Fortnite for now.
Jay?
Yeah. It's everywhere.
So Jay's going Fortnite, Shawn?
That doesn't mean it's made more money.
That's true. That's true. I just know that it has made quite a bit of money.
Shawn, I want you to say one other game.
Yeah.
The top 3. Massive games.
Well,
and I hope you get it.
I was going to say Call of Duty, but that's like a whole franchise.
Yeah, no.
And as a standalone, though, that's what's throwing me. It's just kind of derailed me. I don't have anything but Fortnite. I'm thinking of it for a standalone.
Well, I'll tell you what. For a standalone, that is number 3 on what I would have said. And I'm hoping that you
from that list, Fortnite was at number 3. 2 was Grand Theft Auto 5.
I know what number 1 is.
What is number 1? I don't think
Shawn.
you do.
But
is it World of Warcraft?
It is not.
Wow.
Shawn, what is your guess?
Don't have one. I
can tell you nobody in the comments has got it right either. We got
Is it
Mario Bros.
Is it Colonel Sanders' dating simulator?
No, are you ready for this?
Minecraft?
Yeah, I'll try it out.
Tetris.
Warcraft 2.
Oh,
nice.
okay.
Oh, yeah,
All right.
Interesting.
But
What is it?
I will be very honest. I will say that with just in the last few years alone, it would not surprise me if in the next year or two that GTA 5 does not surpass that.
Well, okay. Was this just the most units sold?
So when I searched the question when I searched it was what is the highest grossing game of all time?
Okay, so they're talking game only, no microtransactions, because World of Warcraft, Fortnite, and GTA would blow it out of the water for obvious reasons.
Well, I mean, at this point now, I kind of want to do a little bit of studying of Tetris to see where
know,
all
right?
of its sources of revenues might be. Certainly, World of Warcraft has made a horrific amount of money over the
Yep,
12 or so years.
scary amount.
Yeah,
And it makes all the other MMOs in the world, kind of sad. Well, I'm sure there are a handful of things that are happening out in the East that make tons of money. I think there's a game like, is it a Nexon Dungeon Fighter Online, a game that maybe not a lot of people have heard about, makes a terrible amount of money, and I don't mean terrible in a bad way.
Well, what about Candy Crush? Right?
Oh, Candy Crush,
Yeah.
yeah.
My girlfriend's still on level 5,000 something. I think. I don't know.
Well, was Candy Crush? Candy Crush was like in the kind of like the 500-ish million range. Is that where that was? It's hard. Mobile games add so much complexity to things, right? Because in the good old days, Clash of Clans just made away with so much money. And there was remember that company called Machine Zone with the advertisements with like Kate Upton for Game of War and Arnold Schwarzenegger with Mobile Strike. Those games made a lot of money too.
Yeah, just because of Kate Upton.
World of Warcraft, has there been another game that's like consistently been going this long that they just kept adding on to?
Consistently, well, there has been a couple of them, but the one that I'm thinking of, oh shit, it had the UI and the graphics interface has not changed in years, and I can't remember the damn name of it. They just did a little bit of oh my god, RuneScape.
Yeah.
Is it?
Exactly. Dude, they did a small tweak to like the UI, a little bit of graphic stuff, but it's still the same blocky, weird thing, and there's still millions of players.
Right.
I don't get it.
All right, question number 2. What was the highest selling video game of 2019?
Oh my god.
2019, the highest selling video game?
Best selling game of the year for 2019.
All right, I got mine. I know it's not right, but I got it. Don't care.
I enjoy listening to you guys because I don't know these at all.
Well, I'll tell you what. There were 3 massive games released in 2019. They were all 3 absolutely phenomenal games, and I'm hoping it was at least one of them. I'm going to go with the one I'm thinking.
You can go with your guess.
You want me to say it right now?
Red Dead Redemption.
Okay, he said Red Dead Redemption. That was one of the 3. I'm going to say God of War.
2019 revenues, man. I mean it.
There was one more that year that was big, really big. The problem is it was an exclusive. But so wasn't God of War.
God of War.
Huh?
I mean,
it's only on PlayStation, right?
It is.
Yeah.
This other one is also. But they were big. I mean, they were big. And they might not be it, but I'll tell you what,
So I can tell you right now, God of War was not even in the top 10 for of just PlayStation 4 alone games.
Wow.
Alex said Minecraft.
No, that came out way before Minecraft.
Was before.
Oh, we're talking about released in 2019.
Yes, released, yeah.
Not just 2019 revenues. Okay, released in 2019.
Oh my god, I know what it is now.
It's gotta be.
It's a decent
I
choice.
think it's the one. I think it's the one that got Game of the Year that year. Do you know what it is, Tomo, Shawn?
What is Shawn guessing?
Can I give you guys a guess?
It's Red Dead Redemption, but I don't know.
I want to give a hint.
Give a hint.
I feel like it was an alternative to Bloodborne. It might be. It might not be, though. But it got
You're thinking
got Game of the
the one
Year.
that starts with S. The one that
yes,
starts with S.
I am. Yeah.
That could be. That's interesting. You know, I mean, it still gets talked about today.
I personally did not like it only because I don't like Bloodborne games.
The Souls-like genre is
Yep. I call
a
them
little
Bloodborne,
rugged.
you know, or Darkborn games.
Well, I mean, I can just say it, even though it wasn't going to be my guess. My guess was actually I was still trying to just sort it out and remember what the big news was in 2019. It's both recent and it felt like ages ago. But David here is talking about Sekiro.
Yeah.
Sekiro.
It's
got Game of the Year.
it's kind of a 3D action chop 'em up slasher kind of game.
Yeah.
It maybe not as not as hard and ultimately not as simplistic as maybe like a Dark Souls 3 kind of game that has the kind of a little bit more like an RPG style approach to that kind of game.
Those
It was really, really good.
Giant ass black chickens. I hated those. They're huge. They're like 15 feet tall.
Red Dead came in 12th. For people
Wow.
who missed that
Whoa.
one. Call of Duty was number 1.
Gross.
Call of
That's
Duty
usually a
Modern
safe bet, I guess.
Warfare.
Wow.
Oh, the
right.
one that had the battle
was not
royale
what
in
I
it.
thought.
Or what did they call their mode?
Battle Royale.
Oh, Battlezone?
Well, Battlezone. No, Warzone.
Warzone, yeah.
Yeah. Wait, didn't that come out this year? No, it did come out last year. It came out last year towards like the end.
Yep.
Okay, Call of Duty. Yeah. I wouldn't have picked that because not a Call of Duty guy. You know, I'm trying to think of games that are good.
Nice. Well, I mean, even if you love the genre, I mean, even if you love the franchise, it's like, how long can you take it?
Exactly.
Well, yeah. I'll tell you what, though, the single player experience on Call of Duty is, I hate that it's getting shorter, but it's still a really solid experience. That's the only reason I buy those games,
the
single
story mode
player.
for this one was super short.
It was
Well, I have
very
a lot of
short,
experience with that stuff.
about 6 hours long, and I'll tell you, it was actually a really enjoyable experience, but it was too short.
Yep. I agree. I was like, oh, it's over already? Like,
They spend so much money per second of content in single player.
Mhm.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And when we
All-
were working
all the
on Medal of Honor 2010, man, we just pulled. I mean, our budget was nothing like a Battlefield or a Call of Duty, but we certainly put a lot into the spectacle and craziness of the single player campaign.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah, and now you don't even see single player. We actually talked about this on the podcast a couple days ago. You don't see single player games really even advertised when they have a multiplayer that's as big as Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So, bad for me, good for everybody else, I guess.
all right, so
You know what
we
my
kind of
biggest-
rapid fire these because we're almost at 10:30. So as soon as
Yeah.
I say
Jeez,
you
yeah.
guys can just go ahead and answer.
Okay.
Ed Boon and John Tobias are the original designers of what renowned video game franchise?
Medieval. I don't know this one. I just said that. This goes back to these guys saying that, well, nobody really knows the developers.
Right?
You're not- I really
Even the
wish-
developers don't know the other developers.
Yeah, I wanted to prove you wrong, but you're not wrong. You're
I know those names.
I got nothing.
yeah, because you're Googling it. I can see it in your eyes.
David
No,
will
no.
say you have the right
I don't know the game.
letter.
I don't know the game. I need to now go through the friend network to recognize where those people come from.
You said it was a renowned game.
Yep.
Oh, I now know.
Can I change it to?
You know what?
Go
You
ahead,
can
Tomo.
guess the game. Guess the game because those are the Midway guys.
Is it? Oh shit! You said Midway. Fuck! Come on! Ah!
You know the game now.
I wanted to say Spyro, but I mean, it's not. It's not. It's Midway. You said Midway, and I can't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, before Tomo
It's a
answers,
shot.
I think he's got it. Here's a hint for you. Aaron has a tattoo of this.
Chicago's another hint.
Trying to remember the last time I saw her naked. Aaron, I'm so sorry. I'm joking. I love you. I know she has. Shit! I can't.
All right, Tomo, what's your guess?
Mortal Kombat.
It is Mortal Kombat.
Nice.
Wow.
And I had no idea. I had no idea until I could trace those names and buddies of buddies of buddies who've been around for ages. That's how I
You
found
should
that
have
one.
said. You should have said Will O'Gara.
Well, yeah.
I would have got it immediately.
Al got it. Oh, when did Al post MK? I missed it.
Nice. Yeah.
Oh, Al
Yeah,
right
said
there.
I'm
No, he
doing
got
so
it.
Al got it.
Well,
I should have been looking
thing
over
is-
there.
my guess is if you're a Mortal Kombat kind of fan, that name immediately sticks to it.
Yeah, I didn't.
I've always been I've always been on the Street Fighter side of that conversation,
Yep. Streets
Al,
of.
boom.
and I don't mean
Rage.
to dog Mortal Kombat, but
I was a Killer Instinct guy, hands down.
Nice.
Killer Instinct.
I was never a fighter. Like,
Virtual
I
fighter.
could never get behind the one-on-one fighter games.
I'm pretty good friends with Tony Barnes, and he was the creative director of the more recent Killer Instinct.
That's cool.
Tony's the best.
I have Killer Instinct on my Super Nintendo, but I never got it. Like, for
I
some
love Killer
reason,
Play Fighter.
one-on-one fighter games and first-person shooter games never interested me. I always wanted to see the character and see that person fighting. I always wanted to see that.
Yeah.
Alright,
There's
next-
kind of a big buried entry with those games too. Oh, what's the next question?
What is the name of the last video game console Sega released in the United States?
Diecast.
Close.
Dreamcast. Damn it, I said
There you go.
Die.
It's not the Saturn. There was another one after it.
Yeah.
Sega Saturn.
I would think Jay's right. Unless there was some mod or addition.
Let me
through
look
the
at my
Saturn.
consoles.
Like,
Hold
there was
on.
like a Sega Saturn CD 64 or something that somehow
Right,
launched
right.
after Dreamcast.
Dreamcast had like one game. It was like the Kiss Carnival. video.
Dreamcast was great. Their sports games were
I
like
love
8
Dreamcast.
years ahead of the other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like it took so long for the other franchises to catch up to what the Dreamcast.
Look what's right beside me.
Nice.
There we go.
Hey, Jay.
Sega lost the battle for audience, but they did not lose it because Dreamcast wasn't awesome.
You
Well,
are correct, Jay. It is Dreamcast.
Ow, I
Dreamcast?
got one right.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, we're gonna go
See, I thought-
classic video games here, going back to the 70s. What is the only video game
I
franchise
want the Prince of Persia guy.
originating in the 1970s to have thus far generated over $1 billion in revenue?
Can you
Oh,
say that again?
it's a franchise?
Yes, what is the only video game franchise in the 1970s to thus far generate over $1 billion in revenue?
What was in the 1970s?
We're talking 2600. I
Yeah.
don't even know if any of the other. I mean, I guess in television might somehow squeak underneath 1980, right? Maybe I don't even think so.
I really wish
I think-
Pitfall was
I think
in
we
there,
got
but I know it's not.
2600.
Ooh, Pitfall.
Yeah, dude.
But that's the angle to start going down, right? What were those really old school Activision 2600 games?
And Pac-Man
And
was
which
after
of those
that.
moved on?
There's
I don't know.
only-
Pac-Man is
Pac-Man
pre
launched it.
1980.
Launched a whole franchise. Yeah.
It really did.
It did.
I would. When was Pac-Man in there? I would say fuck it. I'm going to say Pac-Man. Mike's
Al
drops.
also got
Dreamcast.
the Dreamcast question right, and he guessed Pac-Man as well.
Oh, he dropped that in the second you asked the question, probably with that 15-second
He
delay.
probably did.
Allie, you Googling shit. Are
It's
you
the only
Googling
one that
stuff?
makes sense because Pong is just not an option.
That's not a franchise, yeah.
It's right.
Right.
I
I'm
can tell you
thinking-
that it is not Pac-Man.
Wow.
Oh.
Elevator action. Mike's drop.
All right,
Um,
you guys ready for it?
Now Donkey
Pinball.
Kong was later, right? Because
Pinball.
that spun off Mario, which
Yep,
is the
Donkey
same.
Kong's after.
That was after.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And,
What is it, man?
NES happens after 1982, I think. So
Right.
So the answer is Space Invaders.
wow,
That was a franchise?
interesting.
Oh.
And was it able to get to $1 billion just bit by bit over the forever that is since then, or was there a title that we're not thinking of that came out from
It's like-
now till back then?
I made $1 billion, but it took me 40 years.
Right. I'm
I'll
Yeah,
take it.
I considered
I'll
him dismissed that one like 3
Bob Dylan
times.
was Space Invaders.
I didn't think it was a franchise, but I guess it was.
All right, so going back
Stop
to
it.
talking about budget with gaming, what video game holds the record for having the highest budget ever to produce?
I have an answer for that. Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
we can do it quick now. At
What's
least the stories are the way the stories go. I think Destiny ends up becoming the highest budget for a particular game.
Okay.
Oh, Bob did get Space Invaders right.
Yeah, he
Ooh,
did.
nice.
Is it? Can you tell me if it's a new game or an old game?
I can tell you, I don't want to give too much away, but it may be a game we've mentioned so far in this stream.
Oh, then there's that one.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Go back to God of War.
So Dave's going God of War, Tomo?
Yeah, I'll just take it.
And I'm still going to go with the or maybe I can't remember if it's Destiny 1 or Destiny 2, but I'm going to go with the Bungie franchise.
Sean, you got a guess?
I'll go with Red Dead.
Red Dead?
That would be my other
Ooh,
choice.
yeah.
Alex says Titan.
Alex says Titan.
Oh,
It is
Titanfall?
not Titan.
Probably means Titanfall.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they
what's the
spent a
answer?
lot of money making Titanfall 2.
Correct answer is GTA 5.
Okay.
Oh.
Al just
Highest
posted
budget.
that, or GTA 5.
So we'll give it to
Yeah.
Al. Al said it before I did.
That's cool.
What was their budget then?
It's too much.
Too much.
It'll make you.
Yeah,
It'll make
right.
you sick.
Al
Oh,
what's
and-
the budget?
And so probably Destiny doesn't count because they amortized a lot of that budget over the course of future spending, I think. Because
Yeah.
Destiny was coming in at like 500 million when they were first talking about it, or 600,
Well,
what they earmarked for the franchise.
it's chump change, huh?
Yeah, right.
Side note,
Yeah.
kind of talking about to like beautiful game design and whatnot. I don't know if any of you guys have played any of the Ori games.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh my
the Will of the
God.
Wisps.
So
Breathtaking.
beautiful. Like the story, the design, like the orchestra of music that they just bring in. Like it just hits like on so many levels, and it is absolutely beautiful. Jay, if you have Game Pass, you should grab them. It's Ori and the Blind Forest, and Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Yeah.
I appreciate that very much because a side note from this, when I go to play a game, I'm looking for something I can jump into and just play a little bit. Is it one of those kind of games?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm gonna.
A little bit,
It
down,
starts
come
off
back to
very
it.
slow, because like the beginning of it's almost like more cinematic. But like once you get into the gameplay, you can pick up and go at any point in time.
Okay. My biggest thing right now is I can't stand games like the State of Decay. Like I love the game, but I can't take that there's so much involvement. Like you're dealing with people's moods, you're dealing with stockpile that's depleting while you're not there.
Yeah, no,
I can't do that.
With this, like there's like your main objective, your main mission, and there's like little side quests. I guess like one of the easiest things I can kind of compare it to, but it's like, do you ever play like the Rayman games? Oh, Jay?
There, I can hear.
I'm here.
Hey, did you ever,
He's
you
like,
ever play
I'm
the
over
Rayman
here.
games?
Which
Yeah,
games?
Rayman?
Rayman.
I have not.
So it's very much like almost like that, but I mean just graphic wise, story mode, music, like it's another level. And it's just design wise, color, like it's colors that pop. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. And it's easy playing, fun playing,
Okay.
not too pretentious, not too complicated. Although I'm definitely a fan of too complicated.
And well, I'll tell you, if
I
we're
am not.
just to give you guys another, if nobody has, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to tell you another game that you have to play. It's called Sea of Solitude. It is an indie game. You can get it probably, I don't know, $10-15. It deals with mental illness, and I'll tell you what, if you want to open your eyes to certain situations, that game does a fantastic job of it. And I think I cried through the whole game.
Nice.
No,
From
no
the
joke.
start.
It was unreal. It was absolutely phenomenal. Called Sea of Solitude.
Opening credits. Dave was.
I think you can find some interesting stuff. There's that game Gris that came out as well, also very
Yes.
beautiful
Yes.
and very, very kind of like a psychological mood exploration.
Yep.
Although in terms of like low production values and kind of crazy, I was playing a game recently called The Cat Lady on Steam, and it's
Oh my
rough,
God.
very rough around the edges, but it is all about mental illness, and it gets dark and it gets crazy.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you build a game around mental illness. I guess
I'll
I've
tell you
never
what.
even-
Play Sea of Solitude. Play Gris. Play those games. You will see something that you did not know could be created from a video game. You really,
Now-
really will.
Do you think that people like me, maybe with what you might call a frail constitution, could not handle that kind of thing? Because, like, I'm that guy that's playing GTA 5 and they give you the option of killing the person or letting them go. I let them go. Like,
Well, with Sea of Solitude, you're constantly battling a weight through the whole entire game, and the way they do it, you feel it. You feel it in the gameplay and the things that you have to do, and it creates an anxiety that is unreal, like any other game I've ever felt. And that is a feeling that I don't think that I will ever get from another game again. But I've been constantly looking for it.
interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I'm willing to check it out for sure.
You definitely
Even if it might
should.
make me cry.
It did.
And a lot of-
a few things hit close to home. So
A lot of these indie games are very much like experimentation with storytelling. So there's
Yeah.
it's going to be a very different kind of feeling experience than
Yes.
than the kind of conventional run and gun action. Like back in the day, we made games, and I was there. We made games so that your adrenaline's pumping the whole way through, and that's what keeps you hooked. And
Yeah.
today now, that's the big budget games that still exists, but making those games is hard. At least to compete with those games that spend so much to do that. And I think a lot of these new explorations are, well, let's explore feelings you haven't had playing games.
right, yep, and that's what it does. It really does. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a game called That Dragon Cancer.
Ooh, it's a
That's
rough one.
the developer made because after losing their kid to cancer, and it's not there's not a lot of game to it, but it's a very powerful experience. Super well done, and gutted me in a way that
Mm-hmm.
games don't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe it as fun,
No.
Yeah.
No,
but it is powerful.
Yeah, and not a game I would
It's
want
an
to play through the
experience.
second time, but I'm glad I played through it the first time.
another one that will prevent you. You know, you. It's not going to gut you like that one's going to do. But Unfinished Swan is also another beautiful game.
Oh yeah.
And
sometimes
if you want a
games
game
can-
that'll crush your soul, what looks amazing,
Hellblade?
play Rust.
Senua's Sacrifice. Rust? No, not Rust. All I
That's
did
other
was-
people. That's
Dude,
other
all-
people crushing your soul.
Exactly. All I did with Rust is run around in my underwear and play that stupid guitar. That's all I did.
All right, I got three
Awesome.
more quick trivia questions, and then
Ooh.
we'll kind of close out.
Some overtime there.
All right. What iconic video game character originated as a simple placeholder?
Oh my god. A placeholder?
Yeah.
Wait, what game originated as
What
a simple
iconic
placeholder?
video game character
Character.
I've got my guess.
originated as a simple placeholder?
Go ahead, John.
I would guess Mario.
I'm going to guess iconic Luigi. Fuck it.
Yes.
I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say the main character of Half-Life, Gordon.
Oh my god.
Right?
I love
I
Half-Life.
love Half-Life.
Kirby. Fuck. I'll just use Kirby.
Going with Kirby. Did we lose Jay?
Lost Jay.
All right.
He's going with the 4 squared Tetris block. 'Cause that, it's technically a
correct
placeholder.
answer, Dave, you got it right. It's Kirby.
Oh my god.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
it's
Oh, that was,
Kirby.
and was that like totally random then?
Yeah, he was supposed
Yeah.
to be just a placeholder in a Bazooka Bubblegum commercial, and he got himself a video game.
Nice.
I'm glad I won at least one because I actually love Kirby. I think Kirby was a great experience, and I was just going to say something dirty.
Sorry.
I'm not
I
going
had to
to.
pee real bad.
It's all right.
It's a
I
good
believe
power,
Dave got
too.
an answer right while you were gone. That's all.
Kirby.
Hey Al, if you're still watching, this next one's going to be for you because it is a World of Warcraft question.
Oh, jeez. Have any of us play it? No? Let's do it.
Which
I played.
game?
It's been a while, but yes.
Tomo's
World
going
of
to get this.
Warcraft, Jay.
Oh yeah, I've never played it.
Okay, go ahead.
Alright, what?
I played it when it was like the original Downview game, like 20 years ago.
What pop media icon was recently memorialized in World of Warcraft in late 2018?
Oh my God, he was. They had it. Didn't they have a funeral for him?
They did.
Several.
Oh, is that
Fuck.
where they had the live funeral on the video game?
Say it.
Yeah.
Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
What
The
pop
question-
media icon was recently memorialized in World of Warcraft in late 2018?
I totally know, but I don't know.
I remember
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
I remember this like it was a funeral,
Yep.
and then it turned into like this weird like virtual dance party.
It wasn't Red Dead, was it?
No,
this
he's
is
talking.
happening in
no,
World
Jay,
of
it's-
Warcraft. Yeah.
What
Oh, World
person?
of Warcraft. Oh, sorry.
I
I'm
remember.
going to give you a hint.
Oh, it's the person.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We're looking for the person.
When did Michael Jackson die? I'm just gonna say Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Prince?
Al says Robin
No.
Williams.
They like just died though, right? Isn't that what it was?
2018.
Do you want a hint?
Yeah.
Do it.
You met
Give me a
this
hint.
person and you've done a tattoo on me of this person.
Oh no shit.
Oh.
Wait.
Oh
They
my
were the
God.
one that- They were the
You
one
did
that
a
was
tattoo.
memorialized?
Wait, is it the captain?
It is not the captain. Nope.
Wait, what
Tomo,
other
you got a
tattoo
guess?
did I-
No, I don't have a guess.
Oh,
I'm gonna guess Bowie.
yes.
Sean?
I'm guessing Bowie.
Bowie?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I got
All right.
it.
That
the correct-
resonates.
Jay,
True
go ahead,
Believers.
Joe.
Joe.
True Believers.
True Believers. Stan
Oh.
Lee.
There we
Stan
go.
Lee.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, one last question, and then we'll do closing. In 2018, which video game company did Alfonso Ribeiro sue for unethically capitalizing off content he created?
Fortnite.
It was a Fortnite dance.
It was a Fortnite
the
dance.
and
Yeah.
Epic Games.
That he
It's not
stole from Courtney
unusual
Cox
to
anyway.
be loved by anyone. It's not unusual to be.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. It was Epic Games, and Alfonso, former co-star of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, filed a lawsuit against Epic Games Fortnite developers over an emote dance that can be purchased in the game, appropriately called Fresh.
Yep.
Now called the Carlton, huh?
Not the
I think
Carlton.
They had to kind of save it, so they.
It was kind of a blatant ripoff, though, as you can imagine, with a name like Fresh.
Right.
Right.
Back to the Stanley one. Al said he is in the library in Stormwind, and Al and Bob both got Fortnite correct as well.
Yep.
Nice.
Epics. Yep.
So I had a few more, but I kind of just got rid of them due to the fact that we're almost pushing 11.
Thank you very much.
We'll kind of close it out there. So lastly, Dave, people want to get a hold of Winterhouse Gaming, watch any
Yes.
streaming, contact you guys. What is the best ways to do so?
The best way to do so is Winterhouse Gaming on Facebook. We are all over Facebook. We are Facebook affiliates. We stream 5 days a week. We got 4 of us. We do a podcast every other week. We do a whole bunch of cool stuff. And we have a fantastic community that is wildly entertaining on Discord. So if you want to come and have a really good time and just, fart jokes, let's do it. Let's fucking do it.
Shawn, next for you. So people want to find out anything for Epic Tavern, Murder on the Medway, or even Escape from Jesus Island.
Yeah, Epic Tavern, we're on Discord as well. Do you have that link, Tomo? You drop it in chat, maybe?
Our
if we do-
Discord channels. Oh no, go ahead. Just finish up saying. I'll say after.
Yeah, we do Twitch streams every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Epic Tavern, and dev chats Tuesdays and Thursdays where we just take questions and talk about game development and stuff on Discord.
Awesome.
Yep.
And Tomo, if people want to try to stay up to date with you and what you're doing, up to date with Hyperkinetic, best ways to do so is for that.
So we have like Shawn was mentioning, we have a Discord channel for Epic Tavern, and you can find that at discord.gg/Epic Tavern. We love it when people come by and start up conversations about the game or storytelling or game design. In terms of, I think we also have a Twitter account at Epic Tavern, and our Twitch stream can be found at Epic Tavern. Easy enough way to hunt us down, and of course we are currently available on Steam Early Access under the name Epic Tavern, and awesome. I think that's a fine way to hunt us down. And if you haven't noticed, we're more than interested in you guys reaching out and contacting us.
Awesome. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining in, taking the time tonight. We went a bit over, and I appreciate you guys for hanging out and taking the time out of your night to join in with us. So thank you guys all so much.
I fell asleep 2 hours ago. Joke's on you, man.
We've done a great job.
Right?
I'm just running on sugar, man.
Well, we're totally the types that you end up staying up too late with talking with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's perfect. I mean, that's kind of why we end up having to cut them short. The episodes don't usually end because we have nothing else to say. It's because we're like, all right, guys, we gotta go. We do have to stop this at some point.
Right, exactly. So I guess with that, again, thank you guys so much for joining in. Everybody, thank you for hanging out with us, watching, sharing, liking, commenting. Lastly, or two last things from me and Jay. We'll be back next Wednesday. Ooh, what do we got there, Dave? It's all blurred out again. But we'll be back next Wednesday for episode 9. And then we are doing a special episode next Friday for Meet the Staff. We will not be doing a stream next Saturday, as we'll be attending the Judith Hogue Turtles Pizza Party event for that. And then the following Wednesday, we will have an awesome episode featuring Kevin Eastman, co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ben Bishop, who we've talked about probably 100 times tonight, or mentioned, and Troy Little. Both of them work with Kevin on Drawing Blood. Ben also does the Aggregate, a number of awesome other things. Troy is also doing work for Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons, Rowan Ragdolls. So it's going to be an awesome episode, so make sure you guys tune in. And yeah, again, thank you guys all so much for hanging out with us. It was a great time. Again, Tomo, Shawn, Dave, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It was great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tomo, hopefully we'll see you in October. And again,
that works for me.
Anytime you guys want to come back on, you are more than welcome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, guys.
Shawn. Bye, guys. Thanks.
See you later.
Bye, guys. Good night.
Bye, guys. It's the awkwardness at the end of the podcast.